time to go. They've done the damage. They've pushed in. They've isolated the fight. Bonbon goes down. But just as they launch into the air with the jump pad, oh no, they're taking massive damage from Team No Fear. That is a 3-on-1 now.
That is too easy to clean up in the end. Team No Fear.
So that's how it's going to work. We've got 5 days of play, 4 of those coming in the group stage here, and then that big finale, the exciting match point format that everyone, me included, just loves to watch. It was great that took it out the last time we saw one here in APAC South. I think the ones before that, like Invade, had definitely picked up a couple. It's always a special day when we get to use that match point format, and just a treat for the viewers.
Well, the thing is, right, it allows the best team to win on the day. You know, we can have a couple of teams that perform well at the start of the day, but it is consistency throughout, and it is making sure that once you hit past that 50-point threshold, that you are on your game and you're ready. Because I'll tell you what, pretty much the entire lobby will be coming after you once that all starts to go bang. I mean, you know, we were talking about the prize pool before. Total sum of, I think, 520k USD is where it will max out for APAC South. That is absolutely nothing to scoff at. That is life-changing money for every single person that we are talking about here, mate. If I even got, 19th to 20th place and had, it's going to be like $2,000 USD, I'd be absolutely cheering, considering we're playing Apex Legends, we're enjoying ourselves, and we are competing at the top of this esport. Of course, for APAC South, we do have the best teams here today, but like we were saying, Kale, 10 of them will be eliminated, and from yesterday, I think we're starting to mold around some of the ideas as to who we might be expecting, some of the names possibly.
Yeah, definitely. There were some big names yesterday that were at the top of the leaderboard. People like ExoClan, who we've come to know and love in the various lineups that they've had over the year. And here's an exact look at how that played out yesterday. The surprise really was Rise Empire Taiwan. Now, This was a team that had a huge day, and we've seen them be deadly before, but we haven't seen them be this dominating.
No.
And you can see there's a big gap between those top two there, Rob, and the rest of the pack.
Yeah, it very quickly dwindles all the way down. Nearly 20 points in between second and third place, and only 1 point to separate Exo and Rise. Just touching on Rise, they really did have a fantastic day yesterday. They nearly had 3 champion state, like they basically won 3 games. It was all but round 3 where Reignite denied them of that kind of status. It was inevitably Exo who came out the victors with all 3 wins of 6 games, which is just absolutely outrageous. But as we start to kind of dwindle down a little bit, I think we will be looking to the LNSs, the Parengai Gaming. We're trying to start, that discussion of where we're expecting them to kind of land, I think. Dynasty, for example, I did expect them to be in the bottom 15. They are on 15th, and they did okay, in all honesty. I thought they did a lot better than what I was expecting them to. I think they had one good game where they were able to, amount 6 kills, 2 team wipes. But apart from that, they seem to be placing decently throughout the stage. So maybe this might be a common theme that we kind of follow along. Of course, they're not playing today, so that's okay. We can throw them around, and we'll have a look at them next week. But let's have a look at the scouting report, Genome. I know there's a couple of teams that you really want to dive into here and kind of give a better picture to the viewers as to what to expect.
Yeah, so I've picked a couple here, Rob, and it's kind of 2 groups. We've got teams coming in from Group A that I want to talk about, so the teams that we haven't seen yet, the teams that didn't play yesterday, and a couple of the ones that really surprised us from day 1 of play. So one of those, definitely, as we just talked about a little bit, is Rise Empire Taiwan.
Yeah.
So Jaylun and Bebe, these guys, big fraggers. We've seen them come in and do a lot of damage in previous tournaments in APAC South. I can't remember if Kentung was their third at that point. I'm not sure if they have swapped out the third player or not since changing over Valor Esports, they used to be called, and now with under the new Rise tag. But they were just so impressive, and the fact that they could, it was really the speed which they took the engagements with that caught my eye, and it reminded me of someone like Reignite South, right? When you've got people who can put out massive amounts of damage to be able to one clip. Obviously, in a game like Apex Legends, where the time to kill is quite high, being able to one clip someone is a massive advantage. You don't give them the chance to use their Into the Void and get out. You don't give them the chance to get any meds off, and that can absolutely make a massive difference in how you can close out a fight. And we always know there's a third party waiting around the corner, and the quicker you get it over and done with, the more resilient you are in being able to deal with those threats.
Yeah, so Rise, I guess, a one that we're definitely going to be keeping our eyes on moving forward into the later parts of this tournament in particular. 2 first-place finishes, a second-place finish, and a handful of bottom 10 placings in amongst the 6 games that we saw yesterday. So we saw a variety from what they were able to achieve. That's a massive kill point games, I should say. 35 kills altogether. They were leading the entire lobby by the end of things yesterday. But Bearclaw Gaming, honestly, as we move forward down this line, I think Bearclaw were the ones that really surprised me. They ended up 5th. They had a couple of really great games. There's only one game where they ended up in the bottom 10. Apart from that, they were top 10 the entire time out of 6 games. They found themselves a fair amount of kills as well. As I look, they're kind of sitting around the 3.5 average kills per game, which is considerably high when you look at a team like EXO, who only had 3.6. So Bearclaw, definitely one of those edge teams that just make their way in with the zone, take those fights. We saw them time and time again fighting with K7, and I believe it was Noir who they were consistently getting into that kind of a toe-to-toe fight with, and more often than not coming out on top. So I think Bearclaw have very much surprised myself, maybe not the viewers at home. Maybe they were looking to Bearclaw to be one of those, contending teams, but they've certainly skyrocketed up in the rankings for me, now sitting 5th overall. And my eyes really peel to today and how they're able to deal with the likes of, Direwolves and Reject.
Exactly. So let's have a chat about those guys because they're coming up today. We haven't seen them before. Direwolves here, we can see they've got Bullet, Waltzy, and Belku. And I think we did have a bit of a chat yesterday about these teams and especially Direwolves, how they've retooled their roster. Now they've got Bullet as the IGL. We've got Belku coming in as that sort of X factor that can help boost them up. We have had some info that Belku might not be playing today. We'll have to see who turns up in the lobby. But Airsan, who was previously on the roster and had been moved to the sub position, I think he might actually have been activated today. So at least, if you've got someone coming in, you're very happy for it to be your former teammate, a former Poland representative, someone who's definitely going to be no slouch. But either way, it's an interesting, exciting new lineup from Direwolves, and I really want to see if Bullet. We talked about him yesterday as this sort of multi-talented, has played across a couple of games and just been able to perform, and I really want to see him dedicate himself to Apex Legends and what kind of heights he can reach and potentially to take Direwolves too. And just one more thing to note on Direwolves, Rob, is I believe I saw they've got Night Raven as a coach, so he's been bumping around a little bit overseas in, I think, coaching some NA, possibly even EU teams at some point. A well-liked guy in the sort of analysis community, so I'm sure he's going to be bringing a bit to the table as well in terms of what Direwolves have got to offer.
Yeah, moving on to Reject as well. For all intents and purposes, this is a team that really, I think, will be pushing top 5 by the time that the group stages come to a close. They are one of those teams that every time we watch them, they are consistently finishing top 10, top 5 placing, no matter the kind of dire outcomes. Sometimes it feels like in some of these occasions, as I look back through the stats, we haven't, in a grand final playoff sense, we're talking about the Winter Circuit 4, Winter Circuit 3, we haven't seen them really come out as champions in any of their matches. They're always the bridesmaid. They're always coming in at 3rd or 2nd placing, but they are always up there. They are always finding themselves some decently high kill games. So I think that Reject, from my eyes, will most definitely be finishing top 5 more consistently throughout today. But, you know, when push comes to shove, when it hits the 5th of June, that's the big question mark for me surrounding this team. We know that they're incredible. They compete against the best. They are considered one of the best. But where does it come when all that pressure just surmounts together?
Yeah, look, they don't strike me as a team that really buckles to pressure. You've got to remember this is 2 out of the 3 players that dominated this entire region for possibly even longer than Reignite have been on top, and there's a lot to say for that. So I think the big problem at the moment is the region as a whole has moved ahead and caught up to them, and in some places surpassed them. So they need to continue to improve and make sure that they are keeping up with the latest meta. There's new heroes and guns and meta changes coming in all the time in Apex Legend. It keeps it fresh, it keeps it exciting, and Reject have managed to stay near the top. But if they want to get to the top, we need to see that little bit more from them.
Yeah, the relevancy is still there. And I mean, talking of a team about relevancy, Wolfpack Arctic, we saw their counterpart Shadow yesterday. They actually had a fantastic day, all things considered, finishing up 3rd. Their counterparts in Arctic, they are most definitely the order to the Shadows Chaos. Both of these teams, we know them to, be decently aggressive. I think you were saying yesterday, Genome, that Wolfpack Arctic seemed to just have a little bit more of an understanding in the calculation around that aggression, and kind of rein it in when they need to. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the damage that they do in the server. Love to hear your thoughts on them, though. I know that they're one of the teams that you're looking out for coming into this series.
Yeah, I'm super impressed with them in the last couple of months. They strike me as a sort of invade of old, where they're waiting to the end of the game generally to make their moves. If they find someone in their way, there's a building they want, they'll probably go in there and just try and take the fight. And most of the times, honestly, they're going to come out on top because as a team, they just fight beautifully, just playing off each other and making sure that no man is left behind. And oftentimes when we're bringing up sort of like the damage stats or the kill leader stats, people like Zaratas, they're right up there because they are consistently doling that out and very often confirming kills with that. And they're one of the teams I think who's quite good at getting some sneaky kills every now and then. They'll if we see, for instance, a circle ending up around like Epicenter or something like that, which we didn't actually yesterday, they'll be on the hills with that 3x scout and they'll just be really annoying and just taking kill points away from other teams. And it's those kind of little edges that seem to get them ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes it can be a matter of a point or two, the difference, and the KP will be a big factor in that one. A perfect example is Rise coming out on top in the first play day of this tournament by 1 point against EXO, who found themselves 3 first-place finishes. That's just, it's a fairy tale waiting to happen. So I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to kind of staring down the barrel at this kind of prospect that's staring us right in the face, Genome. I would love to get a holistic view on what all of these groups are actually like, because obviously we are going to be eliminating 10 of them. And yesterday, like I was saying, we're starting to get an idea of the teams that maybe just aren't up to par. However, Group C, I'll be completely honest, I think Group C is the most rounded group that we have throughout the entirety.
Well, the other important thing to note about Group C, Rob, is that this will be the second day they've played, right? So this is the majority of their games. So these teams are playing 14 games throughout the 2 weekends, and that will determine whether they make that cutoff and get into the final lobby or not. And after today, we will have seen 12 out of the 14 games that Group C has played. So that means teams who are sitting down the bottom right now, teams like BIOS, teams like Evolution Esports, even Grape, who are under 20 points at the moment. you know, those guys, they're going to be struggling a little bit. Even Invade, who only got 26.
Yeah.
We went back and had a look at a 16-round tournament like GLL Masters. They run it over 2 days just to sort of give me an idea of how many points you might need to get above that threshold and be in the top 20 out of the 30 teams to make it through. And I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere around the 50-point mark.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at these teams that have only scored 25 points in one day, you know, teams like Invade, Kindergarten, Dynasty, and from down there, yeah, these guys, they have to have probably a better performance today than they did yesterday.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're going to be saying goodbye to them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I just looked back at the actual group stages. We were talking about 14 matches. It is 16 matches that all of these teams need to be playing. That will be the threshold of where we see the end calculation of everything, because of course we have that final play day that will see each team play 4 games. Now, leading into this, let's very quickly talk about the meta, Genome, because I can see the game is slowly but surely starting its way in. The Valkyrie saw a big clutch up for EXO in 2 of their wins. However, it just didn't feel like we saw a hell of a lot of Valkyrie yesterday once we kind of got into it all.
Yeah, and I think that actually gave a big advantage to the Valkyrie teams, Rob. We're already seeing a couple of picks coming through here, just looking at the character selection screen. Roddy Sai Mai, Bios Esports, Straw Van Chok. That's the ones I can see at the moment, so at least a couple. That's a nice new addition to as we log in. We are now able to see all the picks as they are happening as we're getting ready to jump into the game. And yeah, so as I was saying, it gives a little bit of an advantage to those teams because there are only so many sort of high spots that you can drop into late, as we saw EXO do yesterday. And if there's only a couple teams, then yeah, it's not so hard to fight for those positions.
No, well, talking about fighting for positions, we're all fighting for that top position. And we're starting off here for our first game of the second play day. We're about to see 10 new teams drop into World's Edge in the ALGS Champs. I am very keen to get this underway because 3 of the big teams we were talking about, we've got Reject Direwolves and of course Wolfpack Arctic. Those will be the big ones that we start to kind of hone in on as this series goes. But there's all left up, and it's all out in the open for now. Let's get underway, Genome.
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of interesting changes to drop spots today. You've got to remember there's teams leaving things open. Hilariously, okay, so we mentioned we don't have Rig today, right?
Yep.
As a result, we have Straw Van Chok. We have Wolfpack Shadow, and it actually looked like K7 Esports were thinking about it as well. All 3 of those teams were thinking about going to Sorting Factory in the vacuum left behind by Reignite South. Bearclaw, who usually drop in Thermal Station, they've moved over to Overlook because Golden Cat aren't around at the moment, and Direwolves have taken up their post in Thermal Station down the bottom.
A little bit of an early engagement here for Evolution. Looking to just hone in and start off with a bit of a bang. This is down a tree, I believe. They are chasing, in fact, and it will be Roddy Sai Mai that they are hot on the tail of. However, it looks like it's going to fizzle out into nothing once more. And that will allow them, I'm pretty sure, the majority of the loot toward tree as they continue to actually put the pressure on these teams crossing the valley. This could be dangerous, Genome.
Yeah, so we're seeing them really put the damage down there on Roddy Sai Mai, who are just behind K7 Esports. And as I said, they were the 3rd team who tried to drop onto Sorting Factory, but they were a little bit late, thought better of it, and are now just ahead of that team we're seeing getting peppered by bullets there. And they're not in a good position in terms of loot because they've really just had to go to a couple of scattered bins around in between launch site and Sorting Factory just to get themselves sorted out to start with. So now as Evolution 1. And we've got 2 Evolution teams here,
Yes.
by the way, today, guys. So there's Evolution 1 and Evolution Xenomorph.
Yes.
Just to keep you up to date.
So that means we're going to be jumping between the two, and we're not just going to be able to say Evolution anymore, Gino. I think we were cut short yesterday in most of our sayings, so it's probably good for us to be kept truthful and honest in this.
Backpack here. Level
Just
1.
having a look at this zone right now, you were just talking about them. Evolution, Xenomorph have actually gone deep into the zone now. They were stuck down at launch site. There are 3 or 4 teams in Sorting Factory, so it would have been a very awkward rotate. However, they've taken the balloon out of there, and they've sent it pretty much into the zone. Now, that, of course, off-screen, not too far away, but...
Yep. We're having a look
There's
at
Scott
Reject over here, who are sitting in the sort of western side of Skyhook. They do like to land there and grab that Trials loot really quickly. Rise Taiwan, interestingly, they've taken up Exo's spot in the west, the east of Skyhook. My compass directions famously terrible. Whereas yesterday we actually saw Rise, they were landing on the other side of Skyhook. So they've just swapped from left to right, basically.
Yep. And I mean, now once we start to see these circles come in a little bit more, we're going to see a lot of these teams start to engage out in the open. At the moment, we're seeing a bit of an engagement toward the western side. It's pretty much, no matter where you look at the moment, there are multiple teams stacking on top of each other. And one of these teams at the moment, they're finding themselves in a little bit of a bout, K7. But again, it's not too much to write home about. So far, so good. No teams have been eliminated from the lobby, which yesterday I couldn't say as much for. It felt like we saw LNS and LCQ, the 2 Australian teams, kind of bow out extremely early on. Now this is a little bit dangerous going up onto the balloon rotate. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to punish this, though.
Oh, Lemonade actually gets hit with the last shot. Luckily, his teammates are pretty close by, and I mean, K7 do have an Octane, so, you know, they don't have the, I'm not sure if they got the jump pad ready. Are they trying to work out? Yeah, he puts it down, actually. They are using it to move towards that position, but Roddy Sai have already gotten the res off, and they're going up the next balloon. Lemonade is on literally 1 health, literally 1, and this time he's actually going to make it out. So he's taken down once, the res gets him out, and they're moving towards the vault tunnel that goes through to Train Yard.
Maybe hot on the pursuit. We don't know at the moment for K7. It looks like they're just going to continue looting in and around Harvester. And there is no real need for them to press that issue too much. They're going to have 2 or 3 teams trying to rotate in. It actually just looks like it's going to be Evolution 1 who may be rotating into Harvester. But Roddy Saimai, at the meantime, they have continued through. Now, the big question right now is they're about to run into Direwolves. The first time we're going to see them in action in the train yard. And it just depends how early they're going to be able to spot this one out. Because this could be incredibly dangerous, as we know that Direwolves are really one of those highlighted teams that we're looking for. And starting off with game number 1, they need to be making a statement.
Absolutely. Well, they've got their full complement, Rob. I guess the information we got was a little bit bogus there, because Belkun is definitely here and he's ready to play. Yeah. They are using the replicator, so let's just note that, because that means if Roddy might do push further into Train Yard, you know, it's pretty obvious when someone's using the replicator, you know they're there, and it puts a little bit of a target on your back. Waltzy is up in one of the train cars, just making sure that he's got oversight. He's watching the tunnel, making sure if anyone comes through there, he's got the scout on it before it happens. And yeah, they're going for that, you know, that Octane composition, which is great fun to see.
Actually seeing a bit of Octane today. We saw a bit of it yesterday. There's about 3 or 4 squads running it in this lobby in particular. I'll get those names to you directly in a second. It's Rise, K7, NLN, and Direwolves that are running it from what I can see. Doesn't look like we've got any other Octane compositions, no. So it's just the 4 of them for now. That'll be something. Watching those rotates, watching the kind of maneuverability of the cheeky stim will certainly cause a fair bit of havoc toward the end of the game when we're starting to get to those final circles. But we are a very long way between then and now, and that's some really nice shots coming out. Zeratis right now.
Yep, you can see this is Wolfpack Arctic, one of those teams that we're expecting to be extremely strong today. They're trying to chase Direwolves down, who have skirted around Countdown. They're suffering a little bit. Waltzy's going to have to use the jump pad to make it onto the high ground, the small amount that's left in Countdown. We're also having a look at Rise Empire here. They've already lost a member. It was actually quite a while ago. They lost it towards the start before the ring had even closed, and now we're seeing that they've got the banner at least, and if they can keep their meds going for a little while, they'll be able to use this beacon that's well in the zone to bring back Jalun to the fight. That said, Athame are looking for this. They know that they've gone back into the zone, and they have the drone as well, right? Like, Owato, one of the few players in APAC South, still playing the crypto, and that means he can fly that into the zone and get that kind of information, Rob, without actually having to sacrifice any health or meds or positioning.
Yeah, it's. I mean, this is the thing, right? No matter what composition you run, you're either going to be lacking in some department or, you know, getting that advantage. And the crypto is great for, just like you're saying, kind of seeking ahead and seeing where things are contested. Now, very quick point to make on the Direwolves Wolfpack situation. Wolfpack obviously trying to gatekeep the zone there, and Direwolves have completely rotated around the zone into Skyhook. Now, you saw Rise in Skyhook trying to grab that banner, trying to get their team made up. They've done so as well, meaning that they are going to be neck and neck once they start to rotate toward each other. But for now, there's no such stress. Not just yet, anyway. We'll hold on to that one for a little while.
I mean, there's a lot on the line, Rob. You'd have to imagine these players got a little bit of stress on there. You know, maybe not. Maybe they've just got nerves of steel, mate. Maybe they've been working with their sports psychologist, and you know, this is just any other Sunday for them. So as we can see there, we're getting a little bit of vision of that next circle. So this is sort of similar to the one we saw end near the train station yesterday. I think this one could actually end maybe a little bit closer to Epicenter. We'll have to see as it continues to pull, but we can see how many players are sort of stuck, or at least trying to gatekeep here, as we see, there we go, Direwolves just watching for Rise Empire Taiwan. They've been scanned. They know they're there. Belkun has got that information now.
And the worst part is as well, Athame actually have Jack Q just on the corner of that fight, so they will be able to watch everything unfold and potentially third party if they wish to. Now this is where things get a little bit tricky. Rise, with their backs up against the zone, those meds are slowly but surely going to run out. They have been sitting in the back there for quite some time. Of course, the Octane with the passive will slowly but surely just revive health. Now, this is where they're going to start to get pushed. You're going to see, it looks like Direwolves are just on the outside of the building. Athame are now joining that fray as well. In comes the information. Kentang, he can't get out of there quick enough. He takes a chunk of damage. And with a third party, this becomes incredibly dangerous no matter where they rotate to.
Yeah, you can see that zone closing slowly. They're so it didn't really pull much at all, so you can just barely be moving where they are right on the edge. But it's kind of crazy that Rise still have any meds at this point. You see them actually going down because they're struggling so much. Bebe gonna have to pop a syringe before he can even take the time to get Kentung back up.
So this is big right now. There are currently no squads that have been wiped out. All 20 still remain in the lobby. That is crazy considering how much early action we saw yesterday. It's not repeating here, which I'm genuinely surprised of. Rise currently still trying to get out of their position. You can see Direwolves are in the perfect position to gatekeep any kind of movement that they make in or out. But this is the problem, because Athame are now joining the fight, and Direwolves, they're caught out in the open. This may be disastrous for them, but it just depends how much Athame are going to commit to this.
Yeah, as you say, that's actually a terrible spot to take a fight if you're getting third-partied. There's really not a lot of cover. It's extremely
Oh,
easy
no.
to push that. But I think they want to play it safe. They did portal in there. Jack used
Behind them.
the Dimensional Rift just to try and grab, try and sneak in one of those kills. They didn't actually manage to grab any. They all went over to Direwolves, who are now having to deal with Wolfpack Arctic, who've rocked up from the tunnel.
Yeah, they've rotated behind Gino, and they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. No matter where Direwolves go from here, they've got one team on their back in a thing. They've got one team in front of them. They have to hit their shots
the
here.
grenades.
And this is just mincing them to pieces. The good thing is, Runs has gone down. It leaves a little bit open here. Falcon can't get anything done. Direwolves bow out
Athame back in.
18th, but Athame have joined the fray here.
So Zaratas, he actually pushed up very close, and he did a massive amount of damage with his grenades. He was so confident that they had no cover to play behind that he could get huge value out of them, pretty much sacrificed his life. Now, that was okay in the context of taking Direwolves down, but as the Athame have come in for the third party, it has cost Wolfpack Arctic. You can see Jack and Tsurusama now, they're right on top of the banner, so if Wolfpack really want to go back and get that, it's going to struggle. Actually, Athame deciding to rotate. They will get cut off by the choke point eventually, so they're going to have to move around, and Wolfpack will probably continue to play this out with 2 players. But moving a little further south, we're now having a look at Reject.
Reject are actually denying Athame their entrance back in here. So this is still that same fight that we saw from before. Athame are not being allowed any thought of a rotate here, but Reject just need to be cautious. Now into the fray. Nut has gone down in the meantime. The fights are continuing to take place. But slowly and surely, with that zone encroaching on the back of Athame, they need to take fights. They need to force the issue. Reject are holding this perfectly, and as they make their way in, it's just a matter of what abilities they have left. What they have left in the tank is near nothing, and just like that, Athame bow out at 16th place.
As you said, Rob, 16 teams were just alive, 15 now. It's been a very slow start. Apex in general, not even just in Apex South, usually a little bit quicker to get rolling than that. We did see a lot of action, just the teams were being a little bit tentative today, I think is probably the word there, because they weren't willing to commit to the fights and finish them off lest they get third-partied. And, well, I mean, I think that was a fair deduction, because it definitely happened to pretty much every team who started a fight in the end. We're having a look at NLN here, so that's Nooble's Knight and Loki. I believe this is another mostly Australian team. We didn't get to see much of them yesterday, and these guys currently are on the sort of northern side, but they've got K7 Esports behind them. Reject has just scanned them, and I'd say they're in a pretty tough spot right now.
Yeah, I don't know whether they're going to be able to get out from this one, because K7 have actually decided to miss the fight completely. So Reject are now on their lonesome in this 1v1. Well, it's technically a 3v3 if you want to look at it like that. They just need to be careful. Probably now going to have to re-up. In the meantime, Grape, however, what are we seeing this fight? That looks like Grape and K7 are taking these fights just on the northeastern side of the next zone. Grape being able to absolutely laser down some of these players, and the revival come in as well. But back to a 3v3. K7 are currently re-armoring up, and well, what on earth am I watching right now, Gino?
Well, we just saw the gold backpack come out from Big Z. Good use of his the bubble res there. And that's allowed Grape to get back into the fight. K7, they're also just going to trade the res for res as they've moved back a little bit. It looks like Reject have heard this all, and you can see that Grape trying to make this happen, but they're going to also have to deal with Reject on the side of them. Also posturing for a 4th and 5th party coming in here. We've got Roddy Saimai on the south, and Perry Hellion actually possibly looking to come in from the northwest.
Oh god, this is about to be an absolute massacre. Reject are caught between 2 teams on either side of them. The bubble will give them a short breath to take. They still have their way of rotate out in the Wraith, so they just need to be cautious now. You're going to see, here it comes. It's popped, and now the fight may take place. They're just going to be able to see this one out at the moment. There's no one pressing them immediately. All the fights are actually happening in and around them, but now in it all comes. Into the bubble, they're going to be careful as now teams are pushing them from either side of the rock, on top of the rock as well. They're not missing their shots. Rejects, are they about to bow out too? Not even in top 10 place. There we go. MT may be able to survive for a small moment longer. Just inside the rock, but no. It's see you later, sayonara. And K7 as well, are technically in a similar position to this. What an onslaught it's just been in the last couple of seconds. Barry Hallian, this is ridiculous.
Look at that kill feed light up, Rob. I mean, as we had all of those teams fighting at the top there was a similar scuffle happening at the south of the ring. Just as many teams went down there. Impossible to catch all the action at once, and they're actually, pretty much every team is now congregating on the eastern side of this map. They're all hugging the edge, just trying to find a skerrick of safety here, and they can't do it. That's why we've had so many teams. We've gone from 15 to 5 in about a minute there. A crazy amount, and honestly, it looks like Bear Claw might come out of this as the best. Maybe Grape. We're also having a look at them. They've done okay, found a little bit of cover here, but any of these teams basically just have to hug these rocks like they're for dear life, because there's very little cover available when you're looking at one of these epicenter sort of circles. And as it closes in again, these five teams are about to get another dose of gunfire, I think.
Yeah, well, Zabby, who is the rat for inside the ring right now, has found himself in the middle of a rock, so there is no possible way, unless they hit it, the ideal father, they will not be able to see this. Wolfpack Shadow are getting caught out in the open. You said it, Genome. It is an extremely open last circle. Bearclaw Gaming are at the very back of all of this, while Shadow are taking a lot of damage. They're just trying to stay alive at this point. Flash goes down. It looks like they may be bowing out. Silver Sky, the last to remain. It just doesn't look doable. That's Bearclaw Gaming on top of them. See you later. The kill points are massive for them as well. And with only 4 teams left, Zabby the Rat, we have Bearclaw Gaming, Grape, and I believe it's Evolution Xenomorph left as well. Teams that we may not have expected coming into this.
Inside the ring in Evolution, Xenomorph are down players. Those Xenomorph have 2 inside the ring, only with Zabby the Rat, as you said, in a very good position, though.
Yeah.
Gotta love that. He's and just a Prowler to his name. Who needs 2 guns when you got a Prowler, though, really? Looks like they've worked it out. The scan comes out, and they do locate him. But they also, it looks like Bearclaw, yeah, they did just scan Zabby, but they're also kind of like, how do we even get in there? A, to get him. B, without exposing ourselves. Because now it kind of feels like it is between Grape and Bearclaw Gaming. I don't think we're going to get an EXO situation like we saw yesterday, Rob. I would be very surprised if Evolution could manage to clutch out here. It's a little bit harder when you've got 2 fully stacked teams on either side of you. Now as the final ring starts to close in, they will go and remove Zabby. He's been scanned once again, and he's just not willing to get anywhere out of there. He feels like he's quite safe, at least until the ring starts edging him out.
Yeah, and it's going to do in just a second. It's on his back now as we continue to look at Bearclaw Gaming. They are now getting absolutely rinsed, and that will be them done and dusted. It's now down to Grape, Evolution, Xenomorph, and of course inside, oh, never mind, outside the ring, because they're done. They're outside of the game, outside of the lobby, and it's only Evolution, Xenomorph, and Grape left. The bubble may give them room. That is incredibly played from Bigsy. Can he get any more damage done inside of the bubble? Can the team support? You bet your bottom dollar. Grape, after an average first day of the group stages, have come out in play day number 2 and impressed.
Big final fight there from Grape. I didn't see how much damage they did on top of Bearclaw Gaming, but certainly they made it pretty easy in that final 2v3. Bunny Hop absolutely lasered someone with a flat line there at the end, put down like maybe, I don't know, 150, 170 damage or something just as they were jumping over the cliff. And as soon as that happened, it was pretty much done from there. Not enough cover to sort of hide around and juke like we saw with the shotguns yesterday, that you really need to kind of enable a tough situation for you. So yeah, wow, well played to Grape.
Yeah, and I think, what's that? Inside the ring, finishing 4th from where they were with only 1 player left in Zabby. I think they've done decently well there to continue to grab points toward the top end. But certainly great, really impressive from them. Bear Claw Gaming, one of the teams that we were looking at in the scouting report, Genome. They're back and they're here to play. They are seriously starting to impress from top to bottom, from day 1 to day 2. Is this going to be a trend, though? That's the real question.
I mean, yeah, you were picking it yesterday, Rob. These guys, Jubjubib, Sun Series, and Rudine, they have had some okay performances before, but certainly never to the level of consistency that we're seeing across the past 2 days. This really gives them an opportunity to be one of those top seeds as we start to think about which teams are making it through and in what positions as June 5th gets closer and closer.
Well, that's it. As we start to lose, the games to play with, if you will, as we start to dwindle throughout, we are going to be seeing some of these teams have a lot of pressure on their back. And so far, Bear Claw are putting themselves in the best possible position. Now, you got to remember, there are 3 groups at the moment. That's why we're not seeing Group B at the moment. That's why we're not seeing 10 of those teams. Now, the top team from each group go through automatically. So that's the big thing right now, is can some of these teams put themselves in that position? I think the issue for Bear Claw Gaming is the fact that they're in amongst the midst with, Rise Taiwan, with Wolfpack, Rise Empire Taiwan, I should say, with Wolfpack Shadow inside the ring, and of course Grape have just walked away with that victory. So that is a really heavily contested group, and it's not going to be easy to walk away with that number 1 seed in Group C.
No, there's definitely some serious competition over there in Group C. As you say, we've got, Invade, you would have thought would be really strong, whereas like Bear Claw, Athane, K7, they're trying to get over the top of Rise Empire Taiwan, who obviously had a stellar start to game. To day 1 at least. Yeah, and I mean, let's just talk about day 2. The first game we see, right? We didn't 20th. Like what? And then not only that, but how long it took us to find a team falling. Like it took us 5-10 minutes before we actually saw a team fall. So that is absolutely absurd. But anyway, we're going to go to a short break. We've got some highlights from the last chance qualifier that got some teams here. Let's have a look and we'll see you in a minute.
Isn't really much of a defensive bombardment. It's more of an offensive bombardment as they charge forward. The Thermite Nade is going straight on top of Barangay Gaming, and there is nothing they can do about it. That is insane. Yeah. Push back there. The other grenades were just absolutely fantastic from Boss Gold. Engagement this time with the We Are Good Gamers roster. We have to find out how good of gamers they really are. Looks like they have just been eliminated, Genome, so I suppose that speaks for itself. Sweet assists go right up into the air. They're having a bit of a look, see what they can find, and it seems they found a couple of players to shoot at, and a building locked down, although Foxy's has now arrived. There's more people jumping off ropes in this building than Cirque du Soleil performance here. But here we go. The ring closes, and people pretty much all have to push towards the middle building now. Evolution 1 copying a lot of that damage there. All low mines knocked onto the floor. That was by Dave Assassin. And, well, it's just Botmosu left alive. He's clutched it out, has he? It's not going too well for your boys on Team FFN either. Flame Tiger looking for some reses, looking for some shields, looking for anything desperately. Oh, that late defensive bombardment from the Gibraltar doing absolute work. 2 squads left now. Evolution 1 versus I'm Online. They're going down so quickly. It's only up to Gib M here from I'm Online, and he's not going to make it. Evolution. Jib Matt trying to keep himself alive. Trying to keep his team alive. It looks like he's doing a good job of it. Oh! Overcommitment. Foxy is out of the picture pretty early on in the piece, but Bomb can't get away either. So that's 2 teams out of the picture and a nicely timed push. And Natsumi goes low, has no shield. Siska the same, and that's the end of what? I don't even know. Bequetz and Gibem
just get deleted. It might be looking for a late entry. See how this Craver goes. There we are.
Hey!
That's what you like to see.
Now, the fight we've been waiting for between them and Lemon Meringue Pie this whole game is finally coming to be, and somehow they've just absolutely rolled over the top of them. DP Octane on the ground, but Frenchie is there to pick up the pieces.
It's looking okay for Roddy Saimai until those crossfire shots do come through from EMA Academy. Interesting position, as it's just the Bermuda Triangle, really, isn't it, around tree?
You can see that coming in, Elfish.
Yeah.
They've gone down from 3 to 1 member left alive.
I'd be backing Roddy Saimai right now. It seems like they decided to take matters into their own hands. They've dropped down. Oh, it's just
Rangai
Debbie.
on the other side of this door, and yeah, as you say, they've been eliminated. 6 kills, but an early exit.
Just look at the setup from Lemon Meringue Pie. There isn't really anything that Parangai Gaming can do. They're having Hellfire rain down upon them. And 20 seconds now before the circle does move. Lemonade getting instant damage. Here comes that Death Totem. Adequately dealt with by Roti Saimai, and they decide now is the time to go. They've done the damage. They've pushed in. They've isolated the fight. Bonbon goes down. It's a stroke of genius from Roti Saimai as they now take control of the Death Totem themselves, and they turn it back on its head. The tables have turned.
If he takes the other one down, it's him versus Devi. Complex versus Devi, the 1v1.
Well, Devi got a battery off. Complex only got half of his shields up, so he's got the advantage at the moment. Up into
goes
the
outside the
air.
ring!
Are you
No!
serious? Sweet assist will be the champions. What a final finish, though. That was insane.
He jumps outside the ring and kills himself with the ring damage there. Flame shot here. Uses the Arc Star to pressure the door open. And then he's just going to roll in with the Devo Mastiff, which is a very hard to deal with.
Yeah, shots are coming through. The Arcstar actually did connect on the Primus Commander as well, which might not have gone in their favor. Oh, they've thrown it away.
No.
3 squads remaining, 7 teams. Amuska have 3 players alive. Parangai have 3 players alive. And Sweet Assist hoping that Complexes can survive at least for a 2nd place.
Parangai Gaming somehow in the middle of all that actually came out remarkably well. Only a couple left alive now. I think we're into a 2v2 here. The bubbles go down. Poor Sands will have time to reload the Eva, but can he clutch it out for the team? It's down to Samael now.
Oh, it's going to be Parangai Gaming too. That was actually a 2v1. First Mastiff shot doesn't connect, but the second looked pretty damn good. Lemon Meringue Pie, it's a 1-for-1 trade so far, but what a great job from Khaleeson.
To go. Primus Commander, they think they're fighting into a Muska, but just as they launch into the air with the jump pad, oh no, they're taking massive damage from Team No Fear. Such a terrible timing there for Primus Commander. They try and get through the Wraith portal, and all of a sudden they're completely gone. 2 squads left now. It's going to be a Muska versus Team No Fear.
We'll heal back on up. There is the opener, Saya Scarlet. Knocking Poor Sands onto the ground. Now it's a 3-on-2 for Team No Fear. They're taking advantage of that. It's a 3-on-1 now. And that is too easy to clean up in the end. Team No Fear, all of a sudden you just blink and you miss it.
Scarlet also being removed. Foxy looking pretty good here. No, the 1v1. Purple
It's
armor
a bit of a
versus
messy
white.
fight. Yeah, FFD's also hanging around.
Oh, this guy is going to put down the damage. There we go. Poor Sands falling down. They're trying to chase him here. Sarkis can't make it work. And Siska, oh my god, a kick. He was one. There's plenty of scans coming out, but oh my lord, that was a massive Arc Star.
Synchro in a very, very good spot and defended against the bombardment by the bubble shield.
Team
Opposing
FFD.
one goes down.
They're one of the 3 squads left now. 2 reds and a gold armor are going to try and win them this game. As we said, probably need to take out the win if they want to be going through to the May group stage of the ALGS Championship here in APAC South. I think there's some jump pads somewhere in the middle.
But I guess now is the time to find out, Gino. The scores
do
are
it.
ready. Let's see who is going to be going through to the ALGS Championship for APAC South. EXO looking a little bit worse.
Right now, Pricey and Sharky try. Okay, Wolfpack.
Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed all of the action that we just saw with the last chance qualifier highlights. The match is already ready and underway. Let's just jump straight into it, Genome, and get underway for the game 2 of 6 on Playday 2 of the ALGS Championship 2021.
Yeah, so a very quick, just going to highlight some of the scores super quickly as these teams drop in. Grape obviously taking out the win with 12 kills, going to sit on 24. Evolution Xenomorph, very unexpectedly, with 15 points. Below them, Rob's favorite team, Bear Claw, sitting at 10 and doing very well.
I honestly am just a Bear Claw gaming fan now. I think that they've struck me as a team that have really fallen in love with them. Now, oh my goodness, already the fight toward Train Yard. We're just going to off-screen at the moment. It is Roddy Samaya, and they are getting absolutely domed on. I don't know who the opposite team is at the moment, trying to figure that one out. It looks like it's K7, in fact. Unless I'm getting that name wrong, Genome. It's not a favorable fight at all to be in right now for Deviant. That may just be a very, very early exit, and this is the kind of contact that we expected to see last game, and it came out a little bit late. But Athame have actually joined in as well to get some damage off. It's Jack Cute that's there.
Yeah, like very dangerously by himself as well, though, because Owado and Mitsuru-sama, they're still looting over in Lava Fissure where Athame currently lands. So this is very, very risky play. I mean, obviously, you know, he's a Wraith player. He's always got that option to pop his tactical and get out. But yeah, look a little bit risky. Now just having a quick look at Sweet Assists. Those guys dropping over in Refinery. Wolfpack Shadow, interestingly today, as I think we mentioned a little bit earlier, they have got Sorting Factory all to themselves, Roots. So no 4 teams there this time.
No. Teams
have worked it out. They've spread out just a little bit more.
Yep.
And where they would usually be up in, you know, Epicenter, Survey Camp, Refinery. So we've got Team Perihelion dropping Epicenter at the moment. And yeah, as we just saw, Team Sweet Assist over at Refinery.
And Bear Claw Gaming just to the right of them as well. So over in Overlook, sorry, just to give the whole picture for everyone at home. So early on, we've already seen 2 teams taken down. So, I mean, that's so much earlier than what we saw last game. I'm just trying to figure out. Yeah, go for it. I saw you. Ooh.
Well, we just saw Jack pick up a turbocharger. I mean, I still think the Havoc is with turbocharger is possibly the best gun in the game at the sort of like close to mid range. Well, a lot of pros go with the Devo. I guess I'm a bit of a Havoc fan. Either way, if you find a turbocharger early on enough, because usually you're not picking up as much energy ammo, you're not looking for the Devo or the Havoc, but if you can pick one of those up early enough that you can start looking for that type of loot, it can actually be a massive boon for you.
Yeah, now as you just saw on your screens as well, the circle is going to be pulling toward Thermal Station, which teams have already started to rotate in. In fact, it's going to be Evolution 1 who find themselves with very, very early access on the western side. We've also got Direwolves who drop Thermal. They have complete control of it, and that's exactly who they're looking at right now is Evolution 1. The rest of the teams that slowly start to make their way in as well, Evolution Xenomorph, and it's going to start to slowly but surely get quite enclosed inside the ring. A team that did incredibly well yesterday in some of the, really in reading the zones and getting in there nice and early and bunkering down. They're also across at Thermal Station. So this will certainly be as exciting, as explosive, I believe, as we saw last time. Of course, yesterday, if it was Rise Empire who came out on top of this circle, and they're nowhere to be seen in there just yet.
Yeah, it's a Thermal Station looking kind of circle. We could go to staging, but I think it'll probably stick somewhere around Thermal, maybe in the north side. And, you know, one of the teams we Didn't see perform particularly well yesterday in Bait Esports. I think yesterday they were trying out the Valkyrie as well. At least towards the end of the day, we saw Lala Bang switch over to that. That said, they're running it a little bit differently. You know, I did talk about this with, I can't remember if it was with Jarrow or with EMEF, as you'll see in one of those segments we have in the breaks today. But, you know, what if you replace your Wraith player with the Valkyrie? And most teams are opting to replace the Bloodhound, but here we see they've got Wraith and, they've got Bloodhound and the Valkyrie.
Opting for both, I guess. Whatever makes you more comfortable. Now, they're going to continue to push the issue, push the envelope, if to say. A lot of early contact, and it looks like they're getting a good bit of damage. As now they will be forced to back away. Gopgat needs to re-armor up, but Lala Bang just really hitting some nutty shots just over the top of the little mountain rise.
Yeah, a couple of good looks there from him, almost managing to knock one of those players. Was that a stick? No, I thought I heard a stick there from Zaratas for a second, but either way, they're still putting out a decent amount of damage here as they run into a little bit of a scuffle with Straw Van Chock. Buzzed Great has gone down.
Looks like it may well be to their demise as well. On Rogue, the only player left here as Arctic. They're going to be careful.
Right
yeah, Reject on their tail, just like you said, Gino. They are in and amongst the midst of it. And it looks like Arctic aren't going to be sticking around to tell the tale, not just yet. There are a lot of teams in this vicinity, so the third party, fourth party, fifth parties are ever so dangerous right now.
Yeah, they actually use the portal to try and get out of there. They sense the imminent danger coming from behind, and they will make it out closer towards Harvestar. Of course, Wolfpack Arctic, they haven't been able to find a beacon actually yet, so they're not exactly sure where this is going to pull. Obviously, a lot of teams sitting around Thermal, so they might be able to tell just from reference that, you know, that's where all the action is, that's where the teams are already taking up positions, and be able to infer that it's going to be a Thermal sort of finish.
Yeah. As the dust settles across toward Thermal and staging, there's still multiple teams so close in vicinity. Right, just trying to see any kind of early contact, early damage at range, upgrading that Evo as early on as you can. Chris now, 4K7. How much of this are they actually going to be able to deny? Because it is NLN on the other side. Team that hasn't really been showing the greatest performance thus far. But it looks like they've left them all to their own devices, so K7 will once more relax and reset.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a relaxing sort of mid-game here, isn't it, Rob?
We've
had some interesting pauses in action, somewhat uncharacteristic, as we see another zone scan come through there from K7. And that'll give us a little bit of info that it's going to be, well, it's either somewhere centered around Thermal Station itself. It doesn't look like it's pulling into that southern village. It might pull into the northern village, however. And there we go. There's the, there is the info direct to your eyeballs, ladies and gents.
Yeah.
You can see exactly where it's going. You can see a team like inside the ring, who is currently in the underneath of the Thermal Station tower, will be in a good position for quite some time.
Now, one team that you actually can't see on that map right now is Bearclaw Gaming. They're coming from all the way out in the east by Lava City. They're only just making their way in now. Just need to be careful. Grape is in front of them, so you know, I don't foresee them kind of running into each other, butting heads by any means, not yet. But it will certainly be something to keep your eye on in that kill feed. We saw as well as the minimap came up, Rise were coming in from the northwestern side of the map around Lava Fisher, and that was exactly who they were running into, Athame. Athame were just on the other side, but it looks like they have decided to get a little bit more aggressive and take these engagements. Now in that northern village, it could be very dangerous against the team known as Tom Young Kung.
We haven't even touched on them yet tonight, Rob. They actually managed a couple of kills, but didn't have a great game first up. They, of course, drop in staging and that means it was not too far of a rotate for them whatsoever. So they are sitting pretty, I believe it was Bearclaw yesterday actually that managed to get that position inside this village and therefore did quite well as they pushed further on into the game. As you can see, they're trying to get a res. They know that they've knocked one of them, and now Nutsuru Sama and Jack are so low, but Dexter pushed out by himself, hoping he could maybe thirst a kill or something. They didn't want to give up position. Chambers and Chambers and Killerpos trying to play it a little bit safe with that.
No, this is the problem for Athame, is they are just caught in between those rocks with really little less than no support, and it looks like Evolution 1 off camera are starting to push them a little bit more aggressively. This is exactly who you're seeing.
And Rise.
And Rise as well. Oh man, the third party on the fourth party on the fifth party. Only Owada left, and I don't know whether he's going to be able to hold off for long enough. It doesn't look like Jaylun can get the damage done. They're still dropping these players, but Athame don't want to give an opportunity.
You can see they've just scanned them. They've got the grenades. Jailun has actually been able to find the high ground position there with the Octane jump pad, and they run straight in. This is exactly the kind of fight that Rise, Empire, Taiwan love to take, and they finish them off in characteristic Swift fashion.
Now, what's funny there is I actually think that because they found that last player, Owada, 2 of the kill points actually went. One went to Evolution 1, and one also went across to the team of Tom Young Kung. So they will be absolutely cheering at that point. And speaking of Tom Young Kung, the portal jumping directly on top of them from the Wraith of Perillion that is just across the valley at the moment. You can see the fights taking place, but it doesn't eventuate to anything. And now Rise are in amongst the midst behind Tom Young Kung as well. The best thing about this for them is they have so much cover, so much protection to work with.
Yeah, it's a great little choke point to be in if you can clear it out, and that's what Rise did. They got rid of Athame, and now they've got it all to themselves. That said, there's a chance that Wolfpack Arctic rotates in behind them, but in the meantime, you can see Killerpos is managed to get it down, and he wants it. He absolutely wants to finish it off. The bubble comes out, though, just as he's wasted about half of the remaining ammo on his scout. And, oh, that's annoying. It's annoying when you do 500 damage. It doesn't even count towards your Evo shield. Wastes your light ammo and doesn't really get anything for it in the end.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate, I guess you could say. Now, Bearclaw Gaming, in the meantime, they did eventually run into Grape down the southeastern side of the map. That's a little bit unfortunate for them. They've fallen out. Tom Young Kung are pretty much prime in this position because we know that that circle is most likely going to pull to the northern village here. Gino, and I think that this is the position that Rise were actually able to win from last time. Now, the issue with this zone as well is it's gonna take a very long time before we see those kind of close quarter engagements, because teams can sit pretty in these buildings for quite some time before they're really forced out in the open.
They do provide a lot of solid cover, Rob, as you say. So yeah, it's gonna be a tough nut to crack. And the other, I guess the other, geographical feature that we should be talking about, a form of natural cover, is the lava moat that surrounds Thermal Station.
Yeah.
And, currently we've got probably about half the teams within that moat, either sitting in Thermal Station or, Wolfpack Shadow also down to south. Let's take a break from that thought for a moment just to see Grape. They're trying to pull their way over, as you can see, over the lava moat, and struggling a bit, honestly, doing it.
Yeah.
They've already lost 2 of their members, and now Big Z, you'd have to say, is probably not going to survive all that much longer.
No, the issue being Reject have surrounded them from the backside. I believe that's Wolfpack. Sorry, not Wolfpack. Oh, well, there you go. You hate to see it. And Big Z, yep, next to go. I mean, give it your best shot at the moment. Shield swaps, but not in time. Fall to the burn. Unfortunate timing there, but that will be the victors of last game bowing out in 15th place. Once again, a very high amount of teams toward the end of this game.
I'm just sort of wondering how that works. You know, he shield swaps and it protects him from the lava. Does that mean he's like sort of just like surfing on his chest on the lava as he swaps one chest piece for another?
You know what? We'll just use that. We're 100% going to take with that. The shield swap actually turns into a surfboard, but it is not. It is not immune to the lava, that's for sure. And there are just so many engagements going on right now. This one between Invade and Wolfpack
Ooh.
Arctic. This is a dangerous one for both of these teams.
Yeah, Wolfpack Arctic, they're sitting up the top there, you know, with Lala Bang and the rest of the Invade crew trying to work out how they get to this next circle. Because none of the teams, by the way, I'm pretty sure none of them actually scanned the next ring. So it was a very central thermal ring, and honestly, it kind of could have gone anywhere, and that's why we see such an even distribution of teams all around moving out from the center.
Oh.
So someone like NLN, they were sitting, you know, they're up towards the middle. They are going to struggle as K7 Esports just beats them out, but a team like Sweet Assist, who is sitting down in that sort of southeast quadrant, they're actually sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, now this is the engagement that we saw before between Wolfpack Arctic and Invade. Invade still have that high ground, the ever-elusive high ground, which will allow them to take these fights as they do so wish. Now, Lala Bang has been taken down in the middle of that fight by Arctic, meaning that banner may be in an irreplaceable position. Got Gap. Just needs to be cautious about how far he decides to go in. Doesn't really have a method of rotating out either. And Sajin just being so far away, that bubble would not be there to save the day, not early on anyway. In the meantime, Chris just getting around the corner, a little bit more damage done, but we're all good for now.
Just barely escaping. A little bit of cover there. We're actually seeing... Oh, there's a fight going on between Tom Young Kung and Rise up the top of the map. And Rise have actually come out on top.
Yep.
They do get the res. They don't even need to use the beacon that they're on top of. And it's just in time, Manic, because they are... The ring is closing, and they've got a long way to go. They're going to have to go past Invade and Wolfpack Arctic as well, probably. So they finished off that fight just in time. We can see now Invade also having to work their way through a couple of teams, and it's K7 who are right on the edge here and really have the prime shooting gallery spot.
This is literally just a firing range, and my goodness, that is not what you wanted to see on the rotate across the lava moat. You talked about it before, to give a little bit of cover, and a lot of teams have paid the price not knowing where that end zone is. Now, in the center of things once more, Rise are currently taking yet another fight. It looks like it's with Dire Wolves as well. So there is no rest for the Wicked in Thermal Station today. But on the other side, we should be looking at, it does seem as though Sweet Assist have the next zone and are sitting comfortable.
They were until the Octane jump pad was introduced to the equation, and we see K7 Esports just jump on in and eliminate Complex without a second thought. Bonbon and Moonlight Tears. Wow, great name. Moonlight Tears. How poetic. Obviously struggling as well after the loss of their teammate. And it's going to be Perry Hellion actually getting up on top and trying to come in behind, maybe even to finish off that third kill. Meanwhile, within Thermal Station itself, we do see Reject. They've made their move. Well, actually, no, they're holding steady while the Dire Wolves are trying to fight that aggressive, just indomitable team, Rise Empire Taiwan, and they can't do it. Tom Young Kung fall to them. Dire Wolves fall to them. Doesn't matter what logo you've got next to your name. You need to be worried about these guys coming for you.
Yeah, well, the thing is, right now, they are currently sitting at 8 kill points total. They've still got 2 teams in their way where they have to make their final move into the zone. So that is going to be all sorts of awkward. Reject are currently uncontested, making their way across. So Rise are kind of one of the final teams that are going to be coming in late. And this is where they thrive. This is the motion that they need to ensure that they can find any team unsuspecting of it. But Reject are trying to hold them out, trying to keep them there for as long as they can inside of the zone. Sharky a little bit too far forward, has been taken down. Rise, they now have the way into the zone. They're going to find it quite freely and maybe be able to find a couple more picks there. The Kraber, that is going to absolutely dome players if they're not paying attention.
4 squads are left, Rob. K7 have been in the middle of this for quite some time. Rise trying to add another big scalp to their name, and Pricey goes down. Sharky is removed. The MT trying to make them pay for something at least, but he can't seem to do it. They've still got 3 members alive. How do you even kill these guys? Finally, one of them goes down, and K7, that's it. They get the knock, and they are going to jump head straight into their death from above, and K7 Esports are going to be your second champions for today.
Well, you ask how you take them down. Well, a famous person once says, don't do it. I have the high ground. K7, most famously, are the team that say that. They eliminate Rise Empire, who were demolishing teams in their path, left, right, and center, and they take themselves that #1 spot. That all-elusive 12 points, once again, from the placement points that we're talking about, is massive. And I think that may be their first win that we've seen so far in this tournament, but certainly this may be the one that really sets them up to kind of sit a little bit more comfortably back on their laurels. Not that they would want to. I'm not saying they want to, but it does allow them to.
Look, it's such a perfectly apt statement because, it was over a river of fire. How could you get any more perfect with that? The high ground river of fire seems to be a pretty good combo. Yeah, as you say, it's going to go a long way towards getting them to the next stage of this tournament, Rob, because as we were talking about before, the 16 games we've got to play, if you only need 50 points and you grab something like 25 from a win and a bunch of kills coming your way as well, that's fine. You only need to perform that well in 2 out of those 16 games, and that will be enough, honestly, to push you through and be looking at the big money.
Yeah, the big dollars, and that there is plenty of here. The ALGS champs, the APAC South region, and I mean just all of the regions together. There is some serious coin up for grabs. One team that we've kind of not really been able to say a lot about so far is Tom Young Kung. We expected, I would say we expected them to be finishing quite high in the placings more often than not, taking a lot of these fights and winning them. But Rise have taken them out in this game. We didn't even see them in the previous, so they may just need to make a couple of statements toward the end of this matchup in particular. But the good thing for Tom Young Kung is they still have a full game day on next Saturday. Regardless of what happens here, they can pretty much just start to get into the groove of things. And like I said before, you don't want to, right? You do not want to be leaving it up until the last 2 play days, but you do have that movement, that room to move, I should say.
Yeah. There's absolutely, a little bit of what would you call it? Stretch. I'm failing to find the proper word, but yeah, they've got a second chance if they don't perform today, Rob. But let's have a look at the scoreboard now and see after game 2 where the standings are at. So with a decent performance in game 1, well, it was an okay performance. It was an incredible performance in game 2, actually, that has moved K7 Esports all the way to the top. Massive amount of kills. Did they get 18? I think they only got 1 kill in game 1. Does that mean they got 18 kills in game 2?
Surely not. I mean,
oh my god.
Here's the thing, right, is K7 were consistently down the southeastern side of that zone the entire time. Bearclaw Gaming, Grape, I'm trying to think of the other teams that were rotating from that east, but they were all met by K7. Each and every time they moved forward, K7 were there to have their number picked. And that may well be, if that's 18 kills in one game, that will just skyrocket them up the ladder. And like you're seeing there, they're nearly 10 points clear from Grape, who, of course, were the victors of last game. So there's so many storylines that we're trying to follow here. But you know what, Gino? We're going to go to a short break. We're going to talk about those behind the scenes. And when we come back, we'll maybe lay them out for you.
Would you love me like this? Would you love me like this? Oh, would you love me like this?
go.
So looking a little bit worse.
Right now, Pricey and Sharky try. Okay, Wolfpack.
For the end game. See now on the screen. See now.
2 matches down, 4 more to go. That means we're into the 3rd game of the day, Genome. And the 2 games we've just seen, I mean, last game was incredible from K7, let's be completely honest. And you know what, let's just have a look at how the whole map played out for all these teams. Let's have a look at the placement timeline and figure out where people were dropping out and who we're disappointed by. Athame falling out at 17th. Bear Claw, is that at... oh no, Bear Claw at 20th? No, Bear Claw. No.
Oh, no, I think that's BIOS.
no, sorry.
Bear Claw sitting over at 16. Yeah, some of the logos a little bit hard to read there. That's okay, guys. The one that really jumps out at me, Rob, is Tom Young Kung there at number 13, only picking up a 1 placement point. And you've got to remember that those guys, we thought they had a fantastic position. If it had been the ring, the final ring it was yesterday, they would have been, but an interesting, quite somewhat unpredictable pull, I think, as you saw by the teams that sort of ended up there towards the end, meant that losing the battle to Rise was enough to knock them out pretty early on.
And a little bit unfortunate, when we saw those engagements happen, when that circle pulled, there were so many teams that had to hop across that boiling lava that just melted too many in their rotates. I think it was either Wolfpack Arctic, maybe it was even, I can't even remember, whoever it was that had the high ground advantage, unfortunately, were forced down into the slippery slope and just got minced coming across. So that zone was not favorable whatsoever. K7, though, we can't really go past talking about their performance. They finished first, but 18 kills in total. They have just put themselves so pretty in what is going to be the end standings when we come to the end of next weekend. And we're only talking about play day 2. We're not even talking about the whole thing.
Yeah, and you do see that sometimes with a ring like that, people are trying to get across the lava. It's impossible sometimes to really do anything. And the team up the high ground, they just absolutely farm. And you know what? Sometimes, Rob, all it takes is 1 game. And that's what we've seen so far from K7 and Grape. They both had 1 amazing game and 1 pretty average game, to be honest. I mean, Grape finished that one with 15th place with 0 kill points. But they're still in 2nd place. The consistent team, to the shock of pretty much everyone here, is Evolution Xenomorph, who got a 2nd place and a 4th place and are now sitting in 3rd.
Yeah, it's a really interesting storyline. I mean, the fact that maybe it's their rotates that have really caught them in a good spot. It looks like we're already underway with the game, so we're just going to go ahead and jump into it as soon as possible. I'm really keen to see Xenomorph and where their Evolution Xenomorph and see where it is that they're rotating from and rotating to. In that game in particular, they were one of the first teams to move directly into Thermal Station, and potentially that may be why they're able to play so high, Genome, but we're going to find out as we jump into World's Edge.
Yeah, so as we can see here, those guys have been going towards launch site. I think that may have helped them pick up some early kills in game 1 because with all the spillover from those extra teams coming out of Sorting Factory, it made launch site a little bit of a bloodbath early on. For some reason, in APAC South, launch site seems to often be a couple of the lower ranked teams who don't have some sort of big ones to fight over. We'll just go and fight over launch site between themselves. Having a look at the zone now as well. We're going right up the top of the map this time, and it looks very much like it's going to be a skyhook zone. So if Rise weren't doing well enough already, this one is going to be right in their back pocket.
Yeah, certainly should be. The only concern I do have is that Rise typically are the team that comes in from the edge of the zone and is always fighting team after team. That's where they seem to thrive. So now, I believe it was actually the final match, Game 6, yesterday, where we saw them hard stick Ghost Town, and they ended up winning. So, you know, there's no need to discount any kind of play style from them. They are just overall a dangerous team and one to be looking out for. Now, I guess the teams that we need to talk about will have a bit of a rougher rotate in, are probably more like your K7s, your Evolution Xenomorphs, and potentially your NLN, I should say. They're going to have to rotate from all the way down the southeastern side of the map over by the Dome, Lava City, launch site. So it's going to be a little bit more awkward for them to make their way through what should be, realistically, 2 or 3 teams at the very least.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of swap-ups as well, I believe, from last map. Rodisai Mai now landing in Survey Camp, which, of course, generally isn't very favorable. At least they get the Replicator this time. It'll give them a little bit of... but we are having a look at Invade, and I think the reason we're looking at Invade right now is because they've actually been contested by BIOS. Luckily enough for them, Fragment East, for whatever reason, is completely unlooted for the moment, so that means that they can still probably get a really decent amount of loot, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Invade pick up some early kill points here, as they are going to eventually have to move through BIOS if they want to find a spot within Skyhook.
Really, for me, the question is how many of these teams, you know, have been able to scan the beacon? How many of them know where that zone is going to be ending? Because, I mean, Train Yard, vastly different from setting up for Skyhook. There's a lot of those choke points that we see around Skyhook, between the valleys, between the rocks, under the mountains. So you just need to be a little bit more cautious on your approach there. And a team like Rise, if they're able to set up early, maybe they just will gatekeep all of these kind of choke points.
Yeah, it's a good point. You definitely do have to just take it step by step. That said, once you get to the end of one of those chokes, usually you'll be able to, you know, sort of just try and work out with a Bloodhound Scout perhaps which buildings are not taken, and then use your Wraith Portal to get into one of those. So as long as you're managing your sort of ult economy well enough, Skyhook generally doesn't pose too much of a problem. It's just if you get one of those teams that decides that, you know, today's not your lucky day, and they sit in the tunnel and try and make something happen, that, yeah, you know, you can run into some problems. At the moment, one of those teams is Wolfpack Arctic, as we're seeing them trying to cause a bit of a ruckus over here in Countdown.
Yeah.
They're looking to take out Tom Young Kung, who've come up from staging, and then we've also got Perry Hellion on the back of them.
Yeah, this is... I don't know how much of these fights are really going to take place. I guess it depends on what Arctic wants to do. It does look like they're the team trying to initiate these fights. Twizzy at the moment on the other side is kind of getting a little bit more aggressive. Obviously has the shield to play with, and you know, there's plenty of rotatability. Rotatability, you know, that's a new word if it's not a word. Genome, I'm just going to start inventing my own words as we get on through this. But I think this will once again be another game where we just don't see a lot of contact very early due to the sheer portion, really the sheer amount of buildings that you do have to play around with on this northwestern side of the map in and around Countdown and Skyhook. So we'll just, I think it'll be a pretty dull start to mid-game at the moment.
Well, we've seen a couple of Valkyrie rotates in already. Sweet Assist have just used their Skyward Dive to land on the large circular building in the middle of Skyhook. And Invade as well. I didn't quite catch it, but I believe they also used their... Oh, no. 42%. Maybe. They might have also used theirs to go over BIOS. As we said, they might have to go through them. Makes it a little bit safer for them, and they've made it their way into Skyhook now as well.
Like that from Bon Bon on the charge rifle. Get a little bit of damage off while you can. We obviously talk about that quite often. You know, being able to sit back pretty, just upgrade those Evos a little bit, swap out the armor, make sure everyone's sitting pretty comfortable. Now, all those teams that we had prefaced at the very start of the game around launch site, the Dome, Lava City, down that southeastern side of the map, they've all since rotated in. So K7 are actually the last team to do so, and they are really taking their time. There is no stress from them on their way in. But there's going to be, I think there's already 4 teams that are setting up camp in Skyhook. You just saw before, or you're seeing now, sorry, I should say, Sweet Assist is really on the top with that higher ground. And we'll have all of this to play with as these zones start to crunch in a little bit more.
Some interesting positioning from quite a few of the big names that you know. Towards the north side of the map, we're seeing Reject have decided that they'll, just stick around trials, or it's, the sniper mountain part of the top of it at least. Direwolves are going in behind them, and then we've got Tom Young Kung, and as you can see as well, Bearclaw Gaming is up the top there. Those guys are trying to find those northern buildings so that they can, just have the circle to their back and not have to worry quite as much about someone ruining their day.
And like we said, you're just going to see a lot of pot shots on your screens right now for the large portion of this game until those zones really start to force people out of buildings and into uncomfortable positions. It's going to be constant, just tit for tat, get some armor back, use those cells while you can. Because once it starts to force people out in the open, that's when things are going to get really, really chaotic. There's pretty much almost every team out of 20. There is currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the next zone, meaning there's already 13 that have set up camp. And that's going to be, I'm just going to say it's not going to be a lot of fun for a team like Reject at the moment that are trying to make their way in. But I don't know whether that will be of any consequence. It just depends on whether teams are watching.
Well, we haven't even had a single player get removed from the lobby yet. All 60 alive and well. And
here
honestly,
we go.
It's kind of a little bit what you expect from a Skyhook game, where, as you say, it can often take until sort of ring 3 or 4 where the ring contracts enough to really force some engagement. So we can see Tom Young Kung trying to do a little bit of damage, but I think the Direwolves have probably got enough cover that if they don't, make any big mistakes, they should be able to get out of this. You got to remember, Tom Young Kung not playing the ultra aggressive compositions that they had in the past. They are sticking to good old tried and true Gibby, Wraith, Gibraltar.
Looks like they're gonna generally just play a little bit safer again. Just a bit of poke damage, as much as you can poke another team while you have the ability to jump out in and out of those portals. I mean, I would say go for it, right? You do have the safety of the valley, of the dips, the ebbs, the flows of this map. So you can kind of be allowed a little bit more room to take open engagements and just continue to chip away at any kind of med supplies that these teams have. Direwolves are in a lot of trouble right now because it looks like they may well be trying to re-engage that fight there.
Yeah, talking about the med economy, these guys are going to be struggling with that. They came into this part of the map when everyone else had already... Oh my god, they're actually taking the portal in? That is such a bold move! Bullet is rewarded with one down with the Mastiff, but Dexter quickly replies and takes down Belkin, and Bullet with the Eva. Now all up to Waltzy. He's actually outside, and I don't think... He's been scanned. Okay, they know where he is. I thought maybe he'd just try and get out of this. He's going to use the knockdown shield to try and make this work from him. But honestly, Tom Young Kung need to be a little bit worried themselves because Killerpos has gone down, and we've got other teams trying to pick up those last couple of kills. We've got Inside the Ring taking a look. We've got Bearclaw Gaming also using their portal now to get in.
Yeah, this is really dangerous. And just like that, Direwolves are out of the count. Bearclaw Gaming now have control of 2 of the buildings on that north side because unfortunately, with Tom Young Kung dropping one of their players earlier, it was Killops as well. It's just not, it's not the prettiest position. However, again, they have the time. They have plenty to work with still. That is Gibraltar going down, though, which is going to make things a little bit more uncomfortable when they are forced out into the open.
I think just too many teams had the same idea about trying to find the ring towards their back with how circles 2 and 3 pulled. And unfortunately, Direwolves was just sort of you know, one too many to occupy the space that we find that is safe towards the north side of Skyhook.
Yeah.
BIOS Esports is one of the only teams that isn't really in Skyhook right now, and they are only moments away from having an R99 shoved in their face by K7 Esports.
Yeah, they certainly are. K7 just on the backside now. The alarm bell's starting to ring for BIOS, and you can see it'll get a little bit hectic for a while. Concussion just makes things a little bit awkward for Kimberly there as they do make it back into cover. K7 are really trying to force this fight. They're not going into the building just yet, but just slowing it back down. It looks like they've actually backed away from this fight, so BIOS will be a little bit more relaxed. That is a really cheeky position. That's not fun. That's not fun at all.
I love that. I haven't actually seen that one before. Interesting spot there. I guess the VTOL jets do open up a couple of possibilities that you might not have seen previously. It felt there like K7 Esports thought they'd made a bit too much noise, maybe expecting another Edge team to come picking if they didn't finish that fight off quickly, which obviously they didn't. And, you know, maybe they were right, because Grape are sitting down towards the south. They know that BIOS is in that building now, and maybe K7 they're having second thoughts, but maybe they should have gone with their first instinct, because once they go in here, I reckon Grape are almost certainly going to come to third party.
Oh, I absolutely love this call. Kimberly now, they're going to get out of there. Really, really like that from BIOS, but they need to be careful that they're not minced by K7. They're hitting some nice shots, but I don't know whether they've been able to find any kills. In the meantime, though, inside of Skyhook itself, it looks like Reject are just preoccupying the space underneath Sweet Assist. So Sweet Assist no longer have the entire control of the building, rather just the top portion.
By the way, 2 of BIOS Esports got taken down as they made their skyward dive. They did correctly identify a building that wasn't occupied, but with 2 of them going down, they probably don't have enough time to reset here. We see Team Evolution 1 coming from one side. Oh no, they've actually backed off. If they could see the health bars of BIOS Esports right now, they would be kicking themselves.
Yeah, licking their chops. Now, just to mention off screen right now, we've got 2 teams trying to make their way into the zone. Everyone else has preoccupied a building. So there are 16 teams in their own buildings. And look at this from Evolution 1. They're looking to force the issue here. They're looking to get up in the face of BIOS. They do so. And that is all 3 kills from the squad, going over to the hand of Mines, but more importantly, into Evolution 1, which they will be very happy about.
So having a look at K7 Esports at the sort of northeastern side here, a lot of teams over there having a fight in the midst of all this. Tom Young Kung actually, they tried to revive Killerpos and have gone from 2 members to 1, unfortunately. So the respawn beacon used, but not really helping them out. Maybe they should have just stayed quiet. As we can see, I think that's NLN there. Yep, and Nooble's trying to double jump his way out of that, and it's not gonna work. Yeah,
so K7, being the double agent they are, have taken over the building and taken control, meaning they're right next to Rise and Bear Claw Gaming. Sorry, a little bit of a mouthful sometimes. Now, in the meantime, the final team you were talking about previously in that engagement. Oh, hang on, hold the phone for a second, because Arctic are on their last breath, and they've been suffocated out of the game by Evolution 1.
Wolfpack Arctic, definitely not the team you'd be thinking would just be losing the straight up 3v3. But Evolution 1, both the Evolution teams giving us something to write home about today. We do see the next ring coming up. I'm sure we'll get a look at it at some point. Straw Van Chock actually have, they're in the building that has the beacon on top of it. And it looks like it's actually going to be favoring inside the ring.
Yeah.
As we get some vision of it soon. That's it. The team sitting in the middle of Skyhook, like, for instance, Reject, and right on all the way on top, who've managed to already get up to 2 red armors because they've got sight and vision into almost every building in Skyhook. That's Sweet Assist. Somehow managed to get enough ammo to get 2 red armors up, and I can tell you the Bonbon is 300 away from upgrading his with the charge rifle, and that's fully kitted out. That's a 4.8. He's got a purple stock on it as well. As we see the circle, so that team up there in the pink Of course, that's inside the ring. Emil, SQL, and Zabby. They're feeling pretty happy about where this is going, and I guess at least Perry Hellion, they've got a couple of teams on the south side who hopefully for them, they will be able to gatekeep coming into this.
And it looks like that's actually just about what's very much on their doorstep. It's Evolution 1 that are trying to fight their way in. It's on the western side. If we get across there in time, we might be able to see this engagement. So now, Evolution are in the building, knocking on the front door of Perry Hellion, and it just determines how much damage can that Kraber do. It's unfortunately not going to be hitting the mark just yet, but Mines, we saw him beast-like against Shadow Wolf. Oh, sorry, not Shadow. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to stop talking, Gino, because they're back at it again, looking to get up in the face. Evolution 1, that's 2 buildings that they've just absolutely taken control of. Goodness me.
Yeah, look, and Mines is taking control of the kill leader crown. He's sitting up at 6 kills at the moment. The squad in total has 9, and it's been a fantastic start from them. Of the 23 players that have been eliminated from the lobby, they've done more than a third of those so far. So an incredibly bloodthirsty game from Evolution 1.
You could see Sweet Assist were looking across to the northern side of the building. Now they're actually looking directly at Roddy, who are taking fights onto 2 teams underneath them in Rise, and I believe it's Bearclaw Gaming. It is hell in that building up the very northern side of the map. We're looking at inside the ring. They are, well, I mean, true to their name, inside the ring and safe as well. They're currently taking pot shots at Roddy, and this is really unfortunate because that may well be Roddy falling out completely. They've only got 1 player left up in Lemonade, and every other team knows their location. So when that team starts to decide to push in, Bearclaw Gaming have to get the damage done, and inside the bubble fight, it's not favoring them at all. Sun Series can't hold on for long enough, and who else but Rise Empire once more to take the fight.
Rise Empire Taiwan pretty much putting their stamp on this as the premier team in close combat in the APAC South region. These guys have taken almost every big name out, I think, over the last 2 days at some point, and they are scared of nobody, Rob. Roddy Saimai is Lemonade is the only guy left alive on top of that train station.
Yep.
We're seeing Great trying to make a rotation here closer to the middle. I'm not sure if this is, they're going to use this as a staging ground to get to the next part of the circle,
yep.
Or they're just worried about like the 4 or 5 teams that are somewhere around the building on top of them, and hopefully can try and do some damage there. There's certainly going to be a lot of teams making portal rotations, I'm sure, in the next 30 seconds as this round closes.
Yeah, need to get a little bit more comfortable. Now, in the meantime, it is Wolfpack Shadow that have taken down K7 on the eastern side of the map. Things are starting to get a little bit uncomfortable here. Sweet Assist will sit up on top and hope to God that they are going to get, or at least they will be the team mincing. They have so many players in their sight. They're technically going to be one of the last teams that need to rotate up on top. And Wolfpack Shadow, they are the team that are trying to fight from back within the zone. It's not a really great position to be in. They've got so many players that will be able to watch their position making their way in. It is about to be an onslaught. There are so many teams watching directly. Sweet Assist, this is where we need to see them play big. They're going to jump directly down and try to take these fights, but it's not favoring them whatsoever. Complex, the last player remaining, and he bows out. Goodness me, Sweet Assist, for all the might you have, it did not bend at all. And Shadow, they've now been eliminated just like that in the course of about 10 seconds. We've seen 3 teams fall at the hands of these bloodbath.
Does that kind of fight favor anyone, Rob? I'm not sure it really does. It's a losers all-round reject. They nabbed a couple of kills, but the main prize there was just staying alive. Strawvan Chock have managed to survive with 2 people thus far, but you can kind of see that there's very little playable space available to them in reject, while they all need to there's armor swaps available for Strawvan Chock at least. Reject are going to have to rely on the shield batteries here, but they've got more than enough time, I think, to just lock them out As on the other side, inside the ring, they gave up one of their buildings to Rise Empire Taiwan. Probably a smart decision, as it's allowed a couple of other teams to pull out and the placement points to tick up.
Yep.
But there's 3 teams on that side. Evolution 1 fighting against inside the ring, and Rise, I'm sure, will be in that in no time.
Yeah, Reject are holding back Straw Van Chok right now. The zone is on their back. It should be 3 kill points at this point. Rise Empire have joined the fray over on the western side. They're looking to put the pressure onto inside the ring, just like you said. And before we can even call it, it's done and dusted. Reject, Rise Empire. Surely Rise Empire can't do this again. They are consistently in that top Hawkins in the top 5, and they've found themselves up against one of the best.
Reject looking for some grenades here. They want to be able to cut off routes of entry and exit for Rise as they push into this final 3v3 fight. Red Armors on the side of Reject will give them a little bit of an advantage, and it's not enough to stop Rise Empire Taiwan, who take their, I don't know, what is that, 3rd, 4th victory so far in the group stage.
Is that 4th? No, just 3rd. Just 3rd. I got you baited there. We've seen Grape, we've seen K7, and now backing it up, Rise Empire rise back to form after Playday 1. My goodness, this is what we wanted to be seeing. And, I mean, there's so many storylines there at Skyhook. There are so many fights that are happening. And, of course, like we said, it was going to be a slow start to mid-game, and then it was just going to go bang. And that's exactly what happened. You saw in the space of about a minute there, 4-5 teams drop in at that one location, and it was a meat grinder, right? There were just bullets flying left, right, and center, bubble fights happening here, there, and anywhere. But at the end of the day, Rise was sitting comfortable over in the west. They'd already found themselves the placing that they need.
I mean, I've seen less squishing from Play-Doh, Rob. The amount of teams that got taken out in this short amount of time there was just ridiculous. I'm sure when we get a look at the placement timeline later, we'll have that confirmed for us. This is a nice little spot that SQL found before. Unfortunately, inside the ring, weren't one of the last 2 or 3 teams. I think they went out somewhere in the top 5.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
top 5.
weren't able to convert. Sweet Assist, another team that we're looking at right now that we think, had a fantastic position, tried their best. You can see just dropping down here with a bubble, but just so many teams waiting for them. Grape, amongst 3 or 4 others. That's going to be chock-a-block on that timeline once we get a look at it later on. So, yeah, look, Rise Taiwan, what do you think of the fact that, we've seen them come out and play on the second day pretty much as well as they did on the first?
I think this is warning bells being rung for every other team here. Talking like teams like just absolutely mind blank there. Dire Wolves, teams like EXO, Reignite, these big top 5, top 10 teams that we've been talking about for so long. Guess what? Rise is all in the mix there. They have currently won, what is that? 33% of all the games that they have played. That is absolutely outrageous. Let's have a look at the scores for Playday 2 as we get into what will be the second half of our matches. And wow, oh wow, they are just not holding back at all.
So you've got to remember, this is just today's scores. If we were tallying them up in total, Rise already at the number 1 position after day 1 are going to be moving well ahead of any of the other teams who join them in Group C. Now we can see that K7 Esports, after Game 3, sitting not too far behind on 38 with that one excellent game that they had. And then Reject also just bringing up, not quite the rear, but the rear of the podium at least with 36. So a very consistent and reasonable effort from Reject, and that's what we expect from them. But this is something that I've always felt about them, is that they really need to get more first places, right? We're often seeing them on the podium, but not the winners.
Yeah, it was what we were preferencing at the start. Maybe, just maybe, we'll see it in the next 3 games. Very quickly, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoy what we're about to show you. A nice interview with Jarrow from EXO. Let's get into it.
Hey everyone, while we wait for the action to get back underway today, we're going to have a catch up with some of our favorite players from the scene. And today I've got with me Exo Jaro. How you going, mate?
Great, thanks. How are you?
Doing really well. I hope you guys are doing well in the tournaments. But you know what? Let's just get straight into it. I want to hear about some of your favorite things in the game. So, like, what's your favorite loadout?
Go-to loadout, Wingman, PK, or Eva, or R3 Wingman, R3 PK, Eva, something like that.
Okay. And what about your favorite map at the moment?
Definitely World's Edge. Like that's just uncontested. World's Edge competitively and both pubs and ranked it just feels like the superior map to both KC and World's Olympus.
What about your favorite legend?
Definitely Wraith. I was having more fun with Octane when low profile was a thing, but now it's not. Wraith is definitely back to my top one favorite character.
Cool. And what about your round one arena buy?
I always buy the Wingman, just because it's so much fun to use in arena. But the best buy round one, probably Flightline.
And what about arena as an esport? I mean, obviously we're deep in the battle royale esports at the moment. Arena is very new; it's just come out. But do you think it has some potential as an esport?
I'd like to see more smaller tournaments and like scrims come in for arenas just to see how it plays out competitively. Because I think there's a lot of potential for arena because it's zero RNG. Everyone can afford the same stuff. If you do well in the rounds or like grab barrels or whatever, you can get more points, and that way you can get more stuff in the later rounds. It's far more like on face value, it seems more competitive because it's less RNG. But in terms of how much fun it will be to compete in, haven't tried it, but I'd like to see it be competitive for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if it has the kind of depth that you'd want out of it. As you say, it's very fair. Why don't we get back to the BR for the moment and have a chat about some of the changes we've seen in season 9. So obviously one of the biggest ones has been Valkyrie coming in as a hero. Do you think she's going to be quite successful in the competitive kind of landscape with her, the rotation mechanics she has with her ult?
Absolutely. Something really undervalued with her as well is her Q. But for sure, Valkyrie is going to be meta for any edge teams. Valkyrie, though, gives us the opportunity to just get over any bad choke points and try and find a spot deeper in the zone. And there's so much potential for Valkyrie for edge teams. But yeah, Valkyrie's, we've been playing her and she's a lot of fun to use.
Okay, so if you've got short rotates, maybe not so good, but playing some of those, outer positions, outer drop spots on the map might be really good. When I saw her kit, I was like, oh, maybe she'll replace Wraith, right? She's going to be that sort of reposition character for the team. So why do you think she slots in there instead of Bloodhound?
She replaces Bloodhound and not Wraith because she also scans the ring. So she gets information that way. So she already is 1-for-1 on Bloodhound on that. And she doesn't actually have the rotation power that Wraith does in the same way. So she can rotate over large portions of the map, but endgame, like from ring 4 to 5 and 5 to endgame, like you're not going to be Valk ulting in the middle of the zone with like 5-6 other teams. They're either going to get beamed or just land on someone and die.
Now, what about some of the season 9 balance changes that we've seen? I feel like the meta's in a really healthy place at the moment. Now that the bow's been a bit nerfed, kind of how do you feel about that?
The biggest problem with the bow was how much damage it did per arrow. That was just it. It was awkward. It was an awkward number. 70 is not a good number for a gun that's not a sniper because you have to pop 3 cells for that, or you'd have to pop a bat. So having it at 60 means that you only have to pop 2, which makes a bit more sense. Just the way it worked with how you heal up after getting hit by it, 70 was too much. So really happy that that's nerfed. And now that it has been, and the Spitfire's been touched a little bit competitively, and even in ranked and stuff, like it doesn't feel like there's any gun that's like too strong. Everything feels in a really good place. Gun meta is, I think, the best it's been ever since the game launched, which is really good.
Wow. That's high praise from Jaro there. Dev's doing a good job, obviously.
Always.
And what about legend balance at the moment? Obviously, Octane got a little bit of a nerf. Horizon also got a little bit of a nerf this season. And then we've also got, finally, we've gotten rid of low profile. So the fortified heroes are still in the game, but we don't have, Wraith taking extra damage now. She's just a little chunkier.
The way that they've balanced the characters, it feels normal. Like when you're in a gunfight with someone, you don't feel like you're just getting shredded for no reason and not being able to damage trade. Fortified still belongs in the game, I think, at the moment. Right now, the only real problematic character, I think, in my opinion, is Bloodhound, because he seems to just be there's too much reward for no risk with his abilities. But other than that, all the legends are in a really good spot as well. Like Valkyrie wasn't busted off the rip. She's got a really good kit, well balanced, doesn't seem broken at all. Like as far as I can tell, no one's had any complaints about her, and she just plays really well. Like all the legends feel like they're in a really good spot.
Yeah, just fun to use, and that's great to see that.
A lot of diversity in the comps. It's really good for a game like Apex.
I think the last big thing to touch on then is the starter kit now. So that was one of the big changes they brought out with Season 9. Everyone starts with a couple of meds, your white shield, your white helmet, your white knockdown shield, and they've taken those out of the loot pool as well. So how do you feel about that?
That was something I didn't expect. I didn't expect them to actually go that route, and for them to do it. The game feels so much healthier. Like you don't ever run into a situation where you've picked up a gun that's superior, like it far worse than the guy next to you who's picked up a gun, who's also got an armor and you don't. Right now, like even if you pick up an RA45 and he has like a flatline or something, you can still kind of like, you can make it work. Like none of the guns are that bad, so you can fight them. You always have an armor, so you're never at like a huge disadvantage. Anything to reduce RNG in the way that they're going is going to make the Battle Royale experience, both competitively and viewership-wise, way better for the future.
Yeah, it's always an interesting balance with BRs. You know, RNG is sort of what gives it some of that flavor, some of the real essence of a battle royale. But at the same time, as you say, you've got to limit it to the point where people can, express themselves competitively and be able to show the skill difference between themselves and others.
Shout outs, obviously, to my two teammates, Raki, Player K. Those guys are nuts. They've helped me to improve as well as a player, and it's been really fun playing with them. And to my all-owner, Exodus, he's a homie, looks after us, always got our backs, looking to improve us, looking to make sure we're growing, staying on the path to success, which is really important. Really good drive, motivation factor from him. To my parents, who's always supported me in gaming, being a professional gamer. So it's something I don't know if it's really all that common. Love them for that. And to the Apex community, the Apex community as a whole, just amazing. Love this community.
Look, thank you so much for jumping on here with us, Joe. And yeah, good luck in the tournament.
Warriors, thank you very much. I'm sure we're smashing it.
So looking a little bit worse.
Right now, Pricey and Sharky try. Okay, Wolfpack.
Before the end game, but see now
So we just heard from Jarrow from Exo Clan, who of course they had a fantastic day yesterday. 3 first place finishes, Genome. But talking about 3 first place finishes, Rise Empire, am I right?
Yep, they have now tied them up as one of the most winning teams of day 1 and day 2 of our group stages. And I think, they've moved ahead on the points now. Obviously, EXO will have a chance to catch up to them next Saturday. But let's have a look at the placement timeline and see when the big crunches were as the ring moved in. The one I'm looking at is at about, 20 minutes there?
It's chaotic. It is so chaotic. We're seeing what within the space of no more than 2 minutes, there were 8 teams that were killed. That is absolutely outrageous. Eliminated from the server in 2 minutes. That is so much action. And of course, if you even cut it down a little bit more than that, in the space of the minute mark, we saw 4 teams just go down like that. You know, you blink and you miss it. So it was really all about that final circle that you were talking about just then, Genome, starting to close in, starting to push those teams a little bit closer and bunch them like bananas.
Yeah, that said, the other really big thing that comes out and jumps out at you there is the fact that the first team went out at 10 minutes and 22 seconds.
Yeah.
The Dire Wolves lasted 10 minutes and were the first team to go out. They're honestly probably going to be a little miffed about. And, surely some of that is on the rotation path that they took, hoping that they could find some refuge in that north side of Skyhook and just absolutely unable to. only had a hillock or two to try and get behind. I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember if they're one of the teams that has replaced their Bloodhound, and that might have been one of the reasons that it sort of came back to bite them in the ass there, Rob.
Well-
because like you get to that position, right? You've rotated in north.
Yep.
And then you've got a couple of buildings that you potentially have to look at.
Yep.
They don't have the scan for them, and therefore they can't make a really quick, definite call on who's in those buildings, and therefore whether they can push and try and take one of those buildings off them, or if they need to, just hang around and find somewhere else. And just having, like, knowing for sure is one of the biggest advantages of having Bloodhounds kit on your team.
Well, I can tell you for sure in that game in particular, they brought the Octane instead of the Wraith, but they did still have the Bloodhound. Now, you have to remember back to when they actually dove in on, I can't even remember who it was now, but whoever had control of the building, remember, Bullet went through the portal, and that was how they ended up taking those fights. It was less favorable. I actually think it was because of the med supplies. I'll be completely honest, Genome. I think they were running thin, and they knew that they had to make a play. But let's have a look at the final play that ended up netting Rise the victory there, because it was a little bit chaotic, and then all of a sudden, it was just a 1v1. Well, a 3v3, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, as we saw in the placement timeline, these guys had about a minute to really sort out their differences at the end, so it was a pretty fair fight. I did mention that Rise were actually behind on armor, right? Like each of the Reject members had the reds, and each of the Rise members had the purples. So the fact that they still take that advantage and then come out is definitely a feather in their cap, and you can see here just bossing them out with Spitfire, maybe even an Evo as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, I'm not going to say that Spitfire by any means is a determining factor in that fight, but obviously the clip that you have to unleash on a team that's so much poke damage, right? So if you keep peeking in and out of that fight, that Spitfire can just rain down hellfire on you as you're trying to take any engagement. And from there, it did allow them to actually push on top of those containers and take that fight vertically down. We saw it against, was it K7? Yeah, it was literally the game before where K7 had the high ground on Rise, and they got minced too. So, it does, we're not always going to say that, the high ground is absolutely the most vital part of a fight, but if you can get there, look, all I'm going to say is, maybe Obi-Wan was onto something, okay? Maybe he understands a little bit about how it all works. Regardless, though, Rise are really just flying right now.
Yeah, Reject, kind of the patty ones there. Never in first place, it seems. They've still got some learning to do. And yeah, look, high ground just gives you options, Rob. It just means that you can decide when the fight happens. You can peek, you can pull back, you can decide to try and find some cover afterwards and take your meds. And that's kind of what Reject did. They had the high ground at the start, took a little bit too much poke, as you said, and then had to pull back and were at a disadvantage. And that's the thing, Reject going down to them as well just really keeps reinforcing this narrative that we've talked about today, that Rise, like 3v3, if this was an arena tournament, possibly would be the team coming out on top, because whenever it is just a straight up battle, they seem to win. It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, it's like they understand the phasing of fights in Apex, right? Like generally it starts with poke, it then goes into a bit more of a closer range fight, and then it generally ends up in the bubbles, right? It ends up close quarters. Like you were saying, the shotgun's coming out to good effect. And at the moment, it really does feel like they have just got the number picked every time. The beats are feeling so damn fresh. Talking about fresh, we have a fresh game to get into. Let's jump straight into World's Edge and find out what we're going to be expecting for map number 4 of Playday 2 here.
Cancel that.
So, game 4, we've seen a couple of different victors today. Grape took out the first. It was K7 second, and then Rise Taiwan getting the third and moving their way up to the top of the standings at the same time. They're sitting at 42 points, just ahead of K7. And definitely overall, as the weekend goes, are the number 1 team. Now, as we look at these teams dropping in, have we got anything that's a cause for concern, or have the teams sort of worked things out? It kind of seems like they have. Invade, they're just taking Fragment East right now, and BIOS are going to be sticking to Fragment West. I'm pretty sure Invade's usually in Fragment West, but I believe they're just going, well, you know, the fragments are kind of as good as each other, so you know what? We'll just take the other one, and no sweat off our brow. We still get the survey beacon. We're still pretty central in the map and can rotate as per needed.
It's that case of no harm, no foul, right? If you both end up with a similar result, then, you know, it's kind of best for everyone. It's good to see that we aren't seeing so many early fights like we had yesterday. If, you know, casting my mind back, it felt like LNS were constantly taking fights in the first minute, 2 minutes, and it was never favoring them. LCQ kind of started to queue on toward the later stages of yesterday, so they stopped taking those opening fights, but by all means, it has been a much more methodical start to most of these games.
Yeah, it has. We've started to get to that spot where the teams worked it out. There's, you know, there might not be 20 good drop spots, Rob, but there are 20 locations where you can at least pick up. I was about to say armor and a gun, but you don't even need to pick up the armor anymore.
Just the gun.
Just a gun, just something to have a little scrap with. So, looks like we're going to have another western-ish circle.
Open supply bin over here.
Yeah.
Possibly somewhere around Countdown. I don't think this one will go over towards Skyhook. I'll give you the exact coordinates of it a little bit later. But yeah, you know, just something to talk about now while these teams are taking their time in finding their way in and crossing paths, which, once again, they've been a little bit more circumspect about.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the fact that the first team that fell was Direwolves, that was at the 10-minute mark, and that was kind of due to the nature of their rotation up to the northern side of the map, but we didn't really see any real engagement coming from those southeastern teams. We're talking about, you know, K7, we're talking about NLN, Evolution Xenomorph, who are going to have to make that really long journey across the map to get in. We didn't see those fights until early. Speaking of early fights, Straw Than Chalk at the moment finding themselves in a little bit of an engagement, and unfortunately not coming out the victors in this occasion.
Hellion have also taken 2 losses. Fratis just going to pop 1 cell before he tries to get the res. We're just having a look at the last member of Straw Than Chalk here, who's also struggling. Rogue, okay, eliminated, and this is Invade, who have rotated very quickly over from Fragment East. See, Lalabang using the VTOL jets to gain a little bit of higher ground here. Often a hard place to get into, especially these days with not many Pathfinders running around, just opening up a lot of spots that you previously didn't see quite as much. There you go.
Couple of shots taking down one of the members from BIOS. Of course, Invade now, they're in a pretty favourable fight. They're decently kitted out, all things considered. And as they slowly but surely win fight after fight, it's just not looking too good. That is one of the members of Hellion, and only Fratis remains. So recovering those banners, is going to be a really awkward task. There's still 3 teams in the midst of Train Yard, and they're really well covered where these banners are sitting.
So that's that circle we were talking about before, almost certainly heading somewhere towards Countdown. I'd say low chance it goes towards like Lava Fissure, but yeah, probably somewhere around Countdown. As you said, where they're sitting right now, Fratis in the middle of the circle means it's going to be very hard. He's actually going to be able to go ahead. Oh, gets 1 banner. And he's actually trying to look for the others, but he's going to have a rough time doing that. We're having a look at Reject, who have found a very good spot within the ring. One of the control rooms sitting inside Countdown, so they'll be happy for the moment and probably won't have too much action coming their way. BIOS, however, this is an Indonesian. group of players. They are holding the train car just across the road from Rodisai Mine.
And in amongst that midst as well is Invade, who are just to the east of them. And that's who they're looking at right now. Who they were looking at on top of that building was Invade. So it's very much stalled out. Now, Fradis, who obviously was on Team Perry Hallian, was able to pick up one of the banners and get away from that position, from that exact fight. So unfortunately couldn't pick up the final one. So there will only be 2 members from Perry Hallian. That's if Fradis can get into a position to obviously revive his teammate.
Oh! Did they actually get the down there? I don't think they... I didn't see it come up on the kill feed, but there you go. Waltzy has swatted Owato out of this guy, and they're actually going to get the finish of him on him as well soon. And Tsurusama and Jack, they thought they might have a sweet rotate there into countdown and just be able to gas up the other control room opposite the reject lads, but unfortunately they're going to have to try and use the power of that caustic gas to count for an extra person now.
Now, Lida being down and out, just waiting to see what's happening elsewhere. Again, Direwolves just consistently taking what would be considered to be some of the earlier fights in these matches. And, you know, a player, I'll speak specifically, sorry, for Bullet. We know that in the previous matchup, he was the real one instigating a lot of that fight up in the northern side, and will continue to do so throughout these matches, I would dare say. Now, that is Wolfpack Arctic that Athame were trying to take pot shots at. And bunny hop, you ain't bunny hopping your way out of this one. Invade grabs themselves at least 3 of those kill points, which will pay some big dividends off in the end.
Yep, it brings it up to 6 for the Invade squad, so a good start for them. As we were mentioning, they had a very average day yesterday, and they need to do better today if they want to secure their spot for certain going into the final day, where the top 20 teams out of the 30 we've got here with us will be bringing them along. So, okay, Evolution 1. Team that's been impressing us a little bit. They're about to get absolutely zerged by Wolfpack Shadow, who are pulling up here.
Yeah, they've been watching this for a while. Wolfpack Shadow just tried to rotate in. Now, they've got 1 player down, so technically the man up in this fight now, but Evolution 1, they're losing players. In fact, it's just the 1 to begin with. Most of them Mines, the 2 players left. Try and fight this out. I can't even get out of this. It is literally just Mines left, and well, he's decided to completely back away from that fight. Better to have 1 alive than none.
Yeah, and it was the third party from Direwolves that started making things really look quite dire for the other 2 teams, and you know, they were just very healthy. As we saw, knocks on both of the other sides made that a prime target for the Aussie lads there. So, oh, they're actually going to finish off most of those, and it's just going to be Easy Flash left alive for Wolfpack Shadow there, and Evolution 1 just with Mines. So, not eliminating any teams, but oh no, actually I think they're about to. I think they're about to find Mines, who oh no, maybe just gets out. Actually portaled in. No, they're portaling after him. Oh, this is a chase.
Yeah.
Where's the Benny Hill music when you need it?
Right, it's a little bit of cat and mouse, Tom and Jerry, and right now the mouse is well and truly the hunted. And still getting around these corners. You'll see Bullet is really leading the charge here. Very hungry for this, well, final kill that it will be onto Evolution 1.
Stolen by SQL there. We actually saw the inside the ring player with the charge rifle grabbing 1 kill and some extra damage from his Evo as the Direwolves lick their wounds and move up. We've got 15 squads left. A third of the lobby has gone down in terms of players left alive, Rob. And Direwolves maybe looking to be a little bit more aggressive this game to make up for the failure of coming 20th in Game 3.
Certainly hasn't been the greatest start to them that we had expected. Now, that's not to say that that will continue. That is obviously just the statement that we're trying to make very clear at the moment. We had high hopes for them. First game, they bowed out at 18th with 3 kills, and last game 20th with 1. So right now, they are kind of in a good position to close this out with at least a decent kind of placement. And maybe some kills to boot as well, which will definitely be needed when we do get toward next weekend. You don't want to be relying on those last couple of games to give you any sort of room to breathe. Now, granted, they still have Saturday to play. That's all good. Now, this is the fight we saw so early on with Invade Bios, and I believe it was Roddy. So they really haven't been doing anything. They've just been sitting, staring at each other in what would be a Mexican standoff. So taking a couple of shots here, there, and everywhere, nothing to be given. And that's K7 rotating, and it looks like it's going to be into the eyes of inside the ring here, Gino.
Yeah, into the scope of that charge rifle that we saw from XQL. He's even got the ult there ready. Both teams having the Beast of the Hunt available should they want to get that information on a more regular basis.
Yeah. Reject, the team that I think we are just going to label the bridesmaid. Always, always at the big dance, but never the prom king and queen. And that zone there, you'll be given a cheeky little look onto the map there, and it is again pulling 2 count down, like we'd already mentioned, Gino. And once more, this fight that was taking place with K7 and inside the ring, that's continuing. In the meantime, it's Rise versus Sweet Assist. Now, Sweet Assist have not had a phenomenal kill point count, if you will. So anything that they can start to accumulate will be much needed here.
Oh, this is going to be a bit of a doozy, actually, Rob. When we do get the info on the next ring, which the Direwolves have pulled out, and as one of the only teams that have seen where this is going, they're going to be super duper happy about it. I said there was a low chance of something a bit funny happening, and lo and behold, that's what we've got. But I'll just keep that in my back pocket for the seconds until we reveal it to you on stream. At the moment, as you said, still a Mexican standoff happening down towards Train Yard. Invade looking to find their way all the way through the south and come up.
Yep. Now this is a fight that we're going back to. This is Rise Empire taking on Sweet Assist. Sweet Assist are having a little bit of luck actually getting into the building, but I don't know how much damage they're being able to inflict. In fact, it's little to none. They've got a player down right now. Rise are holding quite firmly. The Sentinel could deliver the killing blow, and just like that, you take a deep breath and hope for the best, because Sweet Assist are not having a good time right now. Rise are running rampant all over them, but you do have to be cautious. No, never mind. Bear Claw were looking to come over Genome, but it looks like they've decided better of it.
Yeah, it seemed like Rise were, I don't know, maybe they stopped just for long enough to scare Bear Claw off. They understood that they'd got the advantage over Sweet Assist already. They've still got probably some time and positioning to gatekeep Sweet Assist should they try and get past them. So the more pressing need was for them to mark their territory and make sure Bear Claw Gaming gets sent back towards Trials.
And you know what? Bear Claw are still thinking about it. Because the more that Sweet Assist continue to rain bullets into the inside of this building that Rise Empire are holding, the more they will tempt fate of a third party. And just like that, Sweet Assist, they're going to back away and rotate in. There's the power of the Valkyrie. There were very limited options for them. Left pot shots from Bear Claw coming out now, and that will signify more teams to take some shots, so you just want to be careful. Sometimes it's not the easiest rotate, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, they have found a safe spot for the moment, and as you can now see on the mini-map, or you could see just a second ago at least, this ring is pulling heavily towards Lava Fissure. As Bonbon takes his dying breath there, and the Reject members who previously thought they were in a fantastic position, all of a sudden now have 5 or 6 teams between them and their next safe spot. So Firewolves, as you can see there, that orange team on the left are looking fantastic. K7 Esports also have a bit of a stronghold right on the edge, so they'll be able to retreat from that just as the round closes.
Yep.
And teams like Reject, Wolfpack, Invade inside the ring, and even Tom Young Kung, who again have been a little bit quiet today, are going to struggle to pull into this. I guess they can sit in the countdown side of this circle just for now.
Yeah, so Bearclaw Gaming have repelled Rise, who were looking to push it onto that valley, and it's actually caught the attention of Reject, who are now looking across there. Rise, they do have the jump pads of the Octane, so they will be able to maneuver a little bit nice and quickly every 60 seconds, I believe it is. But the problem's going to be if Reject decide to bunker down with Bearclaw Gaming, which it looks like they're close to doing so, Rise are going to have such a difficult way back into this zone. But this is where they thrive. We've talked about it before, Genome. In the meantime, Reject, they are well and truly in a bit of a bout with Wolfpack Arctic.
Right underneath them at the moment. As far as high ground goes, of course, Arctic have the advantage. We see MT putting the portal down, and there you go. Now they've found some safety. That said, how long will it be safe for? We're also having a look at Wolfpack Shadow. Single member alive right on the edge of the map. Actually a fantastic spot for Easy Flash.
A7. They are now going to be met with the full force of Direwolves, who are holding across the valley from a safe distance. And there's no one who is really going to look to third party them, so they've got free shots at K7. Fortunately enough, the zone will not force K7 out into the open. Will still hold. Although this is so... Oh man, this zone is just devastating, Gino.
Yeah, I think there'll be 3, maybe even 4 teams that will survive this out of the 10 that we've got. Bearclaw, once again, always seem to be on the right side of this. Have kept themselves away from the majority of the teams. And Tom Young Kung, as we keep mentioning, are just having a real shocker of a day here. Are going to go down to Reject.
More points for the team of Reject. Once again, will that kind of storyline that we've talked about so many times continue to come true? Bearclaw Gaming at the moment, they're caught between Wolfpack Arctic and Direwolves. So they just need to be careful. No matter where they rotate from here, they are going to be met with the brute force. But, I mean, that's true for everyone. I honestly think the Direwolves are the only team that are not going to have a difficult time on this next zone. Obviously, that's going to quickly dwindle away.
Let's explore this way. Hostile
But
right here.
Bearclaw are relaxed just for now.
Making contact with enemy.
Sentinel shot from Wolfpack Arctic actually forces Reject to use a considerable amount of their tactical and ultimate resources. Another Beast of the Hunt going out now. That's on K7's side as they are looking to come up behind Direwolves. You gotta remember Direwolves been playing this Lava Fissure position for some time.
Very hell yeah.
And they are on the right side of the circle as the ring pulls in.
Genome, the worst part about this, well, for the fight that is taking part where K7 and Direwolves are, Perry Hellion will be joining the fight as well soon, but Direwolves may not live to tell the tale as it stands. K7 have done an incredible job of flushing them out and also taking that #1 spot in the safe area. I think this may be one of the only safe areas there is. Oh, just going to see one of the players running past him now. Invade trying to force their way into the zone as well. Lalatang goes down. Sage and God, what damage can he inflict? It's got gaps that might be the only to remain. It's going to come down to the wire. And Invade once more have found out just outside of the top 5.
Well, look, I said there might be about 3 teams who survive it. We've got 5 here, but I think 2 of them are actually rats. So I'll take that as the as a pretty fair prediction. Now down to 3. It's Easy Flash by himself, and then we've got K7 down the bottom. Now, I have to say, what Roy did with that jump pad was almost illegal. He pushed in, and in the air, sadly, I don't think we did catch it on stream, but he did about 160 damage mid-air, pulling up onto some guy's head. It was one of the Direwolves players. I think the first one who went down, maybe Waltzy, and that is just incredibly unfortunate. Pretty sure your accuracy in the air is like really not that great. So all I can say is bit of a casino kind of day there for Roy. Now we've got Wolfpack Arctic. There are the other fully equipped team. We've just seen a Sentinel get brought online. That was someone was charging one up. Either way, 3 squads left. And Easy Flash is right in the middle. They actually may not know he's there.
No, they do. They're
pinging it.
Yeah, it's okay. They figured that one out. The Bloodhound was able to spot him out nice and early. And now the issue is going to be, it's also Wolfpack that has spotted him out. So Wolfpack Arctic, K7, and what will be the last member on Wolfpack Shadow still alive, just outside of the ring. But in the meantime, Arctic, they're taking a fair bit of damage. The fight's now starting to be forced by K7. That's allowed Wolfpack Shadow the time to breathe. But it doesn't matter because the damage being done by K7 is enough to secure the dub. And just like that, much needed time for them to refresh here. Map number 4 is theirs.
Okay, K7 coming in with his second victory for the day. So I felt a little bit bad yesterday. I'd sort of pumped them up. We looked at them in the scouting report. I think I even touted them as my pick to go out on top of Group C, and it seems like that's almost certainly not going to happen now, right? Rise Empire Taiwan probably too far ahead of them. But that said, I feel like my pick has at least been somewhat vindicated by the fact that they've come out and won, 2 games here on the second day of play.
I think so. I definitely think that K7 have turned it on this game. I think that it's looking a little bit better. Whether that's they had yesterday to warm up and get into a groove, you never know. But definitely they are looking like a dominant force to be reckoned with. You know, they've taken down some of the more formidable teams on the southern side of the map. They then go toe-to-toe with not only Wolf Shadow, so I do that again, Wolfpack Shadow, but also Wolfpack Arctic, and I mean, handily deal with them. There we go.
There it is. You see Roy just in front of him as they're going through there. And I was watching it on my POV through the game, and I can tell you he did north of 150 damage. It's just incredible.
It's what you love to see. But what you don't is, unfortunately, Invade just never being able to get across the line in these very close quarter fights. You know, the 3v3s, they just don't seem to be coming out on top of. But that's okay, you know, we can hold our reservations for that. And, once again, I am really impressed by what we're seeing by K7 today.
Yeah, I think we also should probably pick it up on Wolfpack Arctic a little bit there as well, Rob, because they had a pretty good game. Sure, they don't come out on top. I think it was that second for them, right? So unfortunately not able to close out the final fight, but this is the kind of stuff we expect from them. And as we said, get past 50 points, probably 75, I'd say you're almost certainly through to that top bunch. That said, for a team like Wolfpack Arctic, who is looking to do this, let's see the scoreboard here, and we can see just exactly how far up. We'll check it out in a second, just to see how far they've pushed up.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about getting through to that final day, Rob. It's also about the seeding points available, because you got to remember that the top 10 the top 10 teams that get through to that final lobby in reverse order will be getting 10 points to 1, depending on which seed they get through at.
Yeah.
So K7 Esports for today looking pretty damn good. 60 points. What was that, the 4th game, right? So we've still got 2 left, and they're only 12 points behind where Rise Taiwan ended yesterday. K7 finished up with 30 in day 1. So they're at 68 overall, and Rise are actually at 115.
Yeah.
So they're still 40 points behind overall in terms of nabbing that top spot and getting the auto invite through in the group.
Yep.
But yeah, wow, impressive.
Yeah, the top team yesterday, Rise, took away 72 points, and in 4 games, they've almost been able to accumulate, the better portion of that. They've got 12 points to go, so that is very doable. They'll put themselves in prime position, but like you said, they sit on 30. It's it back and forth. Depending on how Rise closes out, they may still end up on top, but most definitely K7 on their heels. Now, but one team I have to mention, Wolfpack Shadow. I definitely expected them to be a better team, to be one of the better teams, but I didn't expect them to continuously, kind of hold that placement point and continue to stay toward the top end. I thought there'd be games where maybe they were a little bit over-aggressive and getting punished, but they have certainly held true, and they are finding themselves in a great position. We, too, are in a great position to go to a break, so we're going to go to a short little break for some just some time for us to reset and prepare for the last two games. Let's have a look at the highlights from what we've seen today already. We'll be back in a jiffy.
EXO looking a little bit worse.
Right now, Pricey and Sharky try. Okay, Wolfpack.
For the end game, see now on the screen.
Welcome back from the break, ladies and gentlemen. We are now underway with our, really it's our 2 last games of this weekend before we move across to the final 12 games that will be played next weekend. A lot to go through, but let's just talk about the timeline. Let's talk about where these teams placed. Teams bowing out a lot earlier than what we saw last time, Gino.
Yeah, look at that. We got 5 out as we hit the 10-minute mark there when previously that was number 1. So you can see these rings playing pretty differently. And then we had that big crunch. Look at that, around 20 minutes where you've got, 5-6 teams actually going out, including the Dire Wolves, as the ring pulled through the mountain and just, I don't know, it was a bit of an avalanche.
Yeah. Forcing teams out in the open, it's never a good time. It's never a good time for anyone. Apart from us, of course. For viewers and casters, it's the best time of all. Yeah, it's like Christmas, right? It came early this time. It came in May, apparently, because that's when it all took flight.
The presents come in nice little, rectangular death boxes.
And they just drop everywhere, right? They just drop here, there, and everywhere. Let's have a look at the top kill leaders. Sorry, I got something in my eye as we start to throw to this one. Let's have a look at who is leading.
Oh, you're so nice, Rob. He's shedding a tear for the 16 victims of Roy today. As we see him. So Roy, of course, is on K7 Esports. Pricey on Reject, and then Bebe on Rise Taiwan. And yeah, look, a big statement there from K7. We know a lot of those obviously were coming through on what was it, the second game, I think, where they finished with the 18 kills. And then as we move along to the damage stats, we can see that Roy still doing pretty well on 4,300 almost. Pricey also doing pretty well. Interesting, we only see one Gibraltar here. Typically, obviously, with a lot of the poke damage they put out, we do see them often quite high up in the stats. But you know what? There's one thing I really need to say here, Rob, and that's it's something for all the people in the chat right now, and it's Taiwan number 1, okay? Yeah. Because I mean, let's look at the today how we've been going. Is that 4 out of the 4 games today have been won by Taiwanese teams? Grape won the first one. Okay. Yeah. 3 out of the 4 games today have been won by Taiwanese teams. Just incredible effort here from K7 and Rise. And I know we've got lots of Taiwanese fans in the chat. So, look, you guys probably having the time of your lives right now.
Yeah, you're going to be happy with that. I mean, you couldn't ask for much more. Maybe you asked for Rise to beat Grape. Who came second in that one? Oh, it was Evolution's. Oh, okay. So we got hyped as for them. Evolution Xenomorph, we thought first 2 games they finished 2nd and 4th. They had 8 kill points, I think, in the first 2, and on both of the last 2 games they've finished 19 with 0 kills. So, how the Titans have fallen there. But certainly, look, this is really still anyone's game toward the end of tonight. I'm not going to say that K7 could be knocked off their perch by any means. Maybe they could be. I don't really know. Kind of feeling a little bit on the edge about where K7 are, because they are just absolutely dominating in their matches that they play well.
Yeah, I'm loving it. So why don't we get a deeper look into how these teams are playing, Rob? So here you can see we've got K7, Reject, and Rise Empire Taiwan, and we're having a look at how many points these guys are contributing per game. So what was Roy playing? I think he was playing the Valkyrie there, of course. But yeah, you can see he is leading the pack. Actually, no, sorry, Octane it was. Leading the pack and leading the way sometimes as well with the jump pad as he pulls out with 6 points on average he's contributing to his team per game. So that, of course, is made up of the 4 kills per game he's doing. And then, of course, the placements that they get as well. And pumping out more than 1,400 damage each game that we've seen today as well. And then, you know, someone like Pricey putting out over 1,600. Considering this is a lobby of some of the best Apex Legends players you've ever seen, that's nothing to sneeze at.
No, it certainly isn't. You know, the average kill count when you do look at Roy and just how he's able to hold 4 per game is just absolutely outrageous. Let's just be completely honest there, because if that continues throughout the trend of their campaign, man, it's going to be absolutely wild. Talking about wild, let's get back into the action, ladies and gents. We're going to be jumping in once more for the 5th time today. My goodness, again, you know, these days fly by. Honestly, they just fly by.
That's the beauty of Apex Legends, Rob, and it's been a great introduction. It's been wonderful to have you here enjoying it with us this week. Yeah, it's just so fun. The action flows. It's non-stop. It's what we love about it, right? There's always something to be watching. There's always some action happening. And will it be early on in this game is another question, because as we've seen, the teams have kind of figured their stuff out, right? Like, you've got Skyhook being split pretty equitably between Rise, Empire, and Reject. You've got Invade, who've moved over to Fragment East to make a little bit of way for BIOS, and we're having a look at Wolfpack Arctic. At the moment, they're just trying to see if anyone's coming in hot for them down at Countdown. But no, Athame sticking to their guns over in Lava Fissure, and then we've also got good old Straw Van Chock. Just a lovely name.
It is.
The guys over in Train Yard.
Yeah. It flows quite nicely, doesn't it? It comes off the tongue really nicely. So, finally, we're not seeing a western side zone. We'll talk about that in a hot jiffy once we bring that up and we kind of dissect. Oh, goodness me. Tell you what, Prod are on the bloody ball. They are not messing about. We're actually going to be finishing. I'm going to let Genome call where we're finishing here.
No, go ahead, Rob, please. I mean, we can see where Nutsuru-sama thinks it's going, because he has pinged on the map that he thinks it might actually end, not necessarily in Geyser, but actually sort of in the choke point just in between Lava City and Geyser. So, I mean, that's definitely one possible location for that. It might mean that a team like Grape, or the one that's been landing in Lava City, who haven't we seen a lot of so far today, NLN are in a good spot to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, they can sit there realistically. I mean, maybe for the first 3 zones, they may not even encounter anyone. You never know. But certainly they have not had the greatest start for the day. We didn't expect them to kind of blow us away by any means, but there's still plenty of time to do so. There's still more room in the tank for them to kind of restock, refuel, and get back at it.
Ooh, Roddy Saimai, they've found a little bit of damage over in Survey Camp. They've got one player down at the moment, and it looks like, who is that other team that they're running into? They're so similar on the their colors on the map. Perihelion is the other one.
Yep.
Oh, I think we might. Is that even a 1v1 now? We're on to Trent versus Lemonade. Both of them under 50 health, and I'd say they're not going to have either of those health bars very stocked for much longer, Rob, because in fact, Rise Empire Taiwan are pulling up on them.
Yeah, now this, of course, off-screen, up the northern side of the map in Survey Camp. Rise is pretty much sitting back and just waiting for this contact to eventually finish. Is that the... No, it's not being confirmed just yet. They're still going back and forth at this point. Trent is up for Perihelion, and I really think the Rise are just going to come in and mop this up. Here you come. It's no finish.
Both other teams are looking for the thirst. Instead of trying to finish off the final member and get all 3 kills credited to them, they're a little bit worried about taking that dub, and instead they're just going to actually gift quite a lot of those kills, I think, over to Rise Empire. 3 of them, in fact, go the way of Rise as both of those teams bow out. And now we have 18 squads left in the lobby.
Yeah, you'd be absolutely laughing at that. So that's 2 teams from the northern side of the map that are pretty much finito. See you later. There's no need for them to even jump into the server, apparently. Well, a couple of them are going to get some kill points, but that's all they're going to be taking away. As we start to look a little bit more across toward, where we are right now with NLN toward Lava City, Geyser, Sorting Factory. There's about 6 teams starting to set up camp there. So I would expect very much in Geyser that we're going to see, quite a few teams bunker in early. And once again, similar to what we saw from the second match at Skyhook, I think we'll see a lot of poke damage coming through, but obviously because it's so short and tight-knit, there will be options to invade other people's real estate, if you will.
Yep, lots of teams pulling in towards Geyser. They think it could be, as you said, Melbourne, maybe even Sydney price kind of real estate, we're thinking.
Looks like some people
And then moving all the way down to the bottom, Evolution 1, actually. They're trying to make their way away from Dire Wolves, but I believe both of the Bloodhounds, Belkun, actually taking some shots, and they're going to... we're having a look at Tom Young Kung at the moment. They're actually about to run into vision of both of these teams as they push forward. Belkun is way ahead of his teammates right now because he did pop Beast of the Hunt and therefore had the extra movement speed to keep chasing them down. It does mean if he takes too many bullets from Tom Young Kung as they take the pot shots at him, that he might be in a spot of bother. Luckily, makes it out alive, and these teams can get on with their days.
Now, the issue is Dire Wolves are about to rotate into K7 between the valley here. So as they make their way onto the other side, they're going to be playing this extremely cautiously there. You can see, once again, Bullet leading the front, leading that charge. And maybe Chris might be out in the open here. I think they've seen it. Both teams with Octane rather than Wraith, so there will be no portals. There will be no cheeky beakies. But it doesn't look like Dire Wolves. No. Oh, no. Dire Wolves are just going in. They've left themselves open. They weren't cautious enough. Fortunately enough, Bullet, he has the timing here. The jump pad comes over the top, but Chris absolutely lasers a couple of players dropping in.
Oh, no.
Bullet goes down. That's the Gibraltar. This isn't good. It looks like K7 are going to be hot in the tail of Dire Wolves, and once more, Dire Wolves are not allowed the room to breathe.
Yeah, they don't play it safe there. They're just completely caught unawares. 2 of the members now eliminated and quickly thirsted by K7 Esports. Things are certainly going their way today. And the Taiwanese team continue to impress us. You would have thought the jump pad helps them escape, but, well, it was left behind, and it meant that K7 Esports could just as quickly use that for themselves. That said, we've got Evolution 1 close by, and Tom Young Kung creeping. These guys actually crouch walking up into launch site as they wait for someone to fall into their trap. Will it be Evolution? They didn't get the banner, even though they're sitting around side a respawn beacon right now. I think they might just try and craft some meds, perhaps. And K7 Esports, luckily, have taken the western route around the mountains and won't be running into the snare laid by Tom Young Kung.
Do you know who might, though? Balkan. From Dire Wolves, the 2 banners are still sitting in the valley. Now, I don't know whether he's going to be able to get there in time to get bullets, but he will be able to get Watsy. So, I mean, he'll be able to
Or will he? Or will he? Because Evolution 1 have actually tried to loot those death boxes, and not only are they going to be there to greet him, but K7 Esports has made their way into the ring. It's a fiesta down here in between launch site and tree. Belkun goes the way of his teammates, and Evolution 1 might just slip out. Actually, interestingly, Tom Young Kung may run into them as well, because just to the right of the screen here, they've gone into the zone to try and get a beacon scan. And as a result, they're pretty late to the rotate and might hear Evolution 1 come behind them.
This could be big because K7 have actually followed suit with Evolution 1. So if Tom Young Kung can turn around, they may be able to find 2 teams here. Now, having said that, K7 are in fine form and looking so dangerous. But Tom Young Kung on the back of scanning that beacon, they are not staying around. They're going to get straight into the mess, into the fray that is around Geyser at the moment. That is really where the bulk of this next zone is. So we're going to have to wait and see whether they're actually even able to get through. They've got to make their way through Lava City. But Evolution
We can
1 are camping.
Yeah, well, they can see the footsteps, Rob. They can see the footsteps ahead of them, so they know if they go out into the open there, that there's every chance Tom Young Kung will just turn around and belt them. So we do see the next zone as well here as scanned by inside the ring, who are sitting in a very nice position in one of those buildings just outside of Geyser, where we said perhaps the ring could end. Looking at where it is at the moment. Well, again, a low chance, but we've already seen some weird stuff happen today, so probably going in towards Geyser itself as it stands.
Now, Evolution 1, I mean, they were playing for the one rotate that K7 would have to take through launch site. Instead, they've gone all the way around, so they're not going to butt heads at all. But that means that Evolution 1 may well be on K7's tail if they decide to pursue. Now, I don't know how much information they have. They're just going to sit there for some time. Now, K7 are behind them, so where Mines is looking right now, there is no one there whatsoever. And you know what, Genome? I think that K7 are about to run into Tom Young Kung if they continue to go down this path.
Yep, that's an absolute possibility. It's spotted. Okay, the scans come out. We will confirm where our adversaries are sitting, and it actually looks like Tom Young Kung, they're ready to fight. They've had enough of being the easy beats of this lobby, or at least just being yet another name, one amongst 20. They need to make their mark now. So we see Tom Young Kung there. Oh, they're pulling out the scans coming out from Chambers, but here we go. The fight starts in earnest.
Yeah, and look, I mean, Tom Young Kung are currently down in terms of the HP department, but this is where things get interesting. That rope fight is always something to behold. Unfortunately, they are going to completely back away on the back of that bombardment, and they're going to send it as well. They're not sticking around. In fact, they're just going to try to sit with even high ground. I thought they were going to continue to move on, but no. They're not going to give K7 a moment's rest. Now, it will be a stalemate for some time. Until that zone is forced in, neither team really have to force this fight.
You're right, they can absolutely stay here for as long as they need to. There's a replicator on top that Tom Young Kung have the the position to use. Dexter's still got 95. Matt's up his sleeve. And, oh, nice thermite grade actually. Catches Roy off guard there. Is going to force some med usage. Having a look around at teams just while this is in a little bit of a stalemate. Yeah, okay, I was correct. It is moving very much in towards Geyser. It's actually quite a central circle pull. All these teams towards Lava City will get chunked as they go through that the single choke point that allows Lava City to meet up with Geyser. I think a Valkyrie rotation from Straw Van Chock, actually. Good for them.
Hello. That's what we like to see. A little bit of early contact on the northern side. We're going to leave that fight for a hot minute, even though Rise are starting to join the K7 Tom Young Kung fight. Arctic now are getting caught. It's Bearclaw Gaming on the other end of this one. So a team that we know is loving the edge of the zone, loves to take these kind of forced fights. We're going to go back down the south here because Tom Young Kung, have they just eliminated K7? You bet your bottom dollar they have. But the alarm bells, they may ring. Rise, they're on their way across, and so too are Evolution 1.
Yeah, Evolution 1, the two players. I mean, that's not probably a fight they want to pull into unless it's really, really getting hairy between Tom Young and Rise. If they get spotted out, it could be ugly for them. The other teams will just turn around immediately. Now, as we see them making their way past the vault, of course, Tom Young Kung, by this time, have had time to reset, and they've also had time to think about where this zone's going and what they want to do next. The 2-4 scope on the R301 will allow them to spot out anything they need. Evo have just pulled up behind Rise in the tunnel.
Oh, they don't know.
And they're just crouch walking it up. And again, Mosu, you don't actually get to see Bloodhounds use the footprints all that much, that passive ability. Oh my god, completely unawares. They've done a 1-2-3. Bebe is on the floor. Straight away, they've made it a 2v2. This is their chance to take down the titans of this lobby rise. Some good damage coming out from Mosu on the vault, but unfortunately, they don't make it. That said, Tom Young Kung have heard this. They're on the other side, Rob, and now they have the chance to try and take down the ailing Rise with only Kentung and Jaelong, both of them on about half health. They've got some shields left, but I think they're just going to get removed without a second thought here by Tom Young Kung.
Yeah, no, that's it. Done and dusted. Unfortunately, the Octane had already used the jump pad to try and get the Gibraltar back in so they could revive him. Meant that they had no rotate whatsoever, so it was just a shooting gallery for Rise there. And, you know, considering that, a shooting gallery for Tom Young Kung.
I love that from Chambers there, how he just sat inside the bubble and surveyed the region in front of him. He took that chance that the Dome of Protection gives you to try and work out what their play was. And that's the kind of quick thinking we like. He finds a little bit of a shelf to hide in front of and, you know, work out that there's a team like Reject, for instance, on their left that they have to worry about, not to mention the 4 teams that were in the building to their right. 1 seems a little bit better than 4, so it looks like Reject is going to be the fight that they choose to take.
Yeah, it's the lesser of the two evils. The devil you do versus the devil you don't. That's all I'm going to say. And the devil they do know is Reject. That's exactly what we're looking at. This fight right now, just on the other side of the valley, just on the other side of the rocks. Reject, they're taking their time with this fight. They're not going to force it because Tom Young Kung, they're going to get pinched here. They need to be so careful. It's Reject that don't really have anyone on their tail. There's no pressure from behind them. And so it may just end up being a bit of a stalemate here until this next zone is forced in. They may just be able to sit back and poke.
Yeah, luckily for them, the teams that are inside the buildings to their right probably aren't that likely to come and, you know, really take an engagement. They might try and pick them off. They'll do some damage, but there's so many other teams around them that they can't really afford to expose themselves that much. So in that sense, Tom Young Kung actually have a little bit lucky there. They think they've done enough damage, actually, to push Reject back. They've certainly had time to met up. And they're a little bit worried about how much time they have because the ring is now closing, Rob. And these teams aren't that close to this next circle, and they know there's going to be teams like Evolution Xenomorph, teams like Wolfpack Arctic, who are going to be causing them trouble as they pull up.
Yeah, they're going to be able to gatekeep now. This is really dangerous. Wolfpack Arctic, a team that is methodical in its approach of taking team fights, they're going to be able to mince both these teams trying to make their way, and it's Reject and Tom Young Kung that are going to be coming in from this direct angle. I don't know what they've got in terms of rotates, but I don't know whether it's going to be enough to get past the stone wall, the brick wall that is this team right now.
Okay, the bubble used for Tom Young Kung here as they enter the circle. They were scanned and they really couldn't afford to just take untold damage from a team that has the wall hacks on them. So Wolfpack Arctic actually taking a little bit too much poke from both the teams that they were seeing move their way in. And as a result, they don't actually grab any kills. They just move back further. BIOS, they're the ones in the southern banana building in Geyser, so they are the only ones who have perfect position going into this next ring. Bearclaw Gaming, their position now untenable. Same will be with Evo as those teams finally start getting into a bit of trouble. Reject have 2 down now, Rob.
Yeah, this does not look good for MT. I don't know whether he's going to be able to hold on for long enough. Both his teammates fall down, but he does get away just... I don't know whether it's going to be enough because it looks like Bearclaw Gaming are in the building that he was just trying to preoccupy, and now this may well be the rat play that we need to see, but they're not going to give him a moment's rest. It will be Jub Jabib to finish him off. In the meantime, Evolution Xenomorph have now been able to get into that exact building that we just saw the last member from Reject run through, which means they will find themselves head-to-head with Bearclaw Gaming if they're not careful.
So there's a little bit of the choke that came through from Lava City. Athame are currently occupying that. There's a little bit of playable space there. They're trying to guard their left. Of course, Tsuru-sama in a nice little high spot. He's got the Sentinel. He's charging it up. He rips the cord. Oh, boom. That's one. Hits another. This guy, a charged up Sentinel is some sort of weapon in his hands. Might even want to take the armor away from Owato at some point to be pumping that up to red. That's something he does so well for his teammates. The round is now closing, Rob.
Yep.
Teammates are having to give up their positions, and BIOS, all of a sudden, their safe zone has become a bit of a hell.
Yeah, it certainly has. If there's a hell on earth, there's definitely, or rather heaven on earth, there's definitely a hell on earth, and that seems to be that banana building you were talking down bottom side. It's just jumped a bit to remain here for Bearclaw. Doesn't look like he will be able to live. Maybe you get himself another kill, a cheeky little point. Just trying to find the timing on the jump over the top, can't do so. Now it's Evolution Xenomorph that are going to be holding inside the building. They have the safe zone. Still 3 or 4 teams on the outside trying to work their way in here. But they've got 45 seconds to kind of the calm before the storm, if you will.
Yeah, teams below, teams inside, teams above the banana building, but the two sort of just waiting and biding their time. That's Tom Young Kung on the southwest side, and all the way to the south, as we saw, up on a bit of height. We do have a Fame. He's actually just going to, looks like Awato's probably going to pump an EMP pretty soon. That'll get, I mean, he's got 300 left on his armor. I wouldn't be surprised if he managed to get it to red in one fell swoop with that.
Very quickly, while these fights are going on, Tom Young Kung, I don't know if you can see them, Genome, but that's going to be really tricky. They may just be the cheekiest beakies of all. I don't know how long they'll survive or if they're going to at all. But once they come out, they will be able to annihilate some of these teams from the backside, just doing the damage that they need to now. They can stay calm and composed. They will be running into a Thame to their right that we were just seeing on screen before. They're currently in the midst of the bombardment, and in comes the more damage. The beast of the hunt. And it's slowly but surely crunching here. Still a minute 30 before we see everyone forced into it. A nice timing on the dome. Just gets him into position. Jumps on the other side. Can he find the kill?
Oh!
That is secured. And still, with 3 or 4 teams left, this is just mayhem.
Big pumps there from Killapaz on the Peacekeeper, but a Fame, they're the ones who have managed to just slowly walk their way in while all the other teams are too busy dealing with each other. That EMP I was talking about, it actually hit, I think, 5 people and did something like 250 damage to get Owada closer to that red armor, which he, as you can see, is now rocking. They've got a bit of height. Oh no, Nusuru Sama just at the last moment goes down, and he loves to keep that caustic gas grenade up for right at the last moment where it's most impactful at the end of a ring and where no one else can get away from it. But unfortunately, he's left it a little bit too late, and that means Jack is just trying to fight it out for himself here as we get down to 3 squads left.
And they're given a little bit of information across, but Evolution Xenomorph look like they're in a prime position to be able to fight this out, take the engagements and win. Close quarters, no! Oh, it's only one player left, but Jack Hute should be able to absolutely mince them.
Whoa.
And that will give a Thame a much-needed victory here at the ALGS champs.
So, just to put that into perspective, we had, not very long ago, 3 members of Grape alive. I believe at least 2, maybe even 3 members of Evolution Xenomorph alive. And Jack, just on his lonesome, with a wingman, Owado and Mitsuru Sama had been removed. They had their ultimates ready to go, not able to use them. Jack comes out and clutches it for a Thame, taking out the #1 spot here in Game 5.
Yeah, it was such a cluster of events in there, you know, like that's always tricky when there's room on top, there's room below, you're inside the tube itself, you're outside of the tube, there's teams everywhere. I think there were 6 teams right as that final circle started to close in. I honestly thought that Tom Young Kung were going to be able to kind of sit back and take the easy pickings there, but it just wasn't to be. And now we're looking for Tom Young Kung to still have that wow factor that we might have been expecting for so long.
Yeah, I think it was probably a little bit trickier of a position, maybe than you were giving it credit for there, Rob. I mean, they were unseen, which is fantastic. And then I think it may be a little bit of a misplay in terms of how much they showed themselves and just being able to wait it out as long as possible. I think maybe they got a little bit greedy and thought there were some kills for the taking there. As you can see, They used the bubble well and some nice peacekeeper shots. Did net a couple of kills, but losing one team member this late in the piece means there's almost no way to revive them.
I mean, honestly, I thought Evolution were in a good position there, but Jack apparently is just too damn sharp in a 1v how many? I don't even know how many were left when it was just him, but Athame will be very happy with that performance at the end of the day. You cannot knock it. That's the 5th match done, and finally Athame have been able to take a victory out of what has been 11 matches they've played now, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yep, you'd be about right. I mean, considering yesterday they were in 7th place, sitting at 48 points, that'll probably do something about them definitely making it into the final day. That said, there's still those seeding points up for grabs.
Big seeding points that are needed.
Ooh.
I heard a ooh and a look on your face.
Oh, well, they were at 19th before, Rob. So before that, they were sitting on 4 points for the day.
Wow. Okay. I was saying much needed, but I didn't realize that it was that needed. That is not a...
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, the problem is coming into this, Athame were one of those teams yesterday that just consistently were on the edge. They were, again, kind of similar in being the bridesmaid. They were always there, just never getting across the line. This time, I mean, that may well set them up for next week's kind of onslaught that will be their 4 last matches that they need to play. But I am quite impressed, all things considered, that they have even pulled that out. They were up on that mountain for so long, just raining down fire into Geyser. So, credit where credit is due. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh man, yeah, it was definitely fun to watch. Love a charge sentinel from my main man Mitsuru Sama. 5 games through today. We're just waiting on the scoreboard. I'm sure it'll be here with us soon, and it feels like Rise Taiwan definitely going to be on top of Group C. I really can't see anyone else getting through them at this point.
No.
With a dominating day one. Okay, let's have a look at the scoreboard, ladies and gentlemen, and we can see K7 Esports sitting up on 63 points. That's not too shabby at all. Rise Empire Taiwan, again, cracking that 50-point mark, and they've still got a game in the bag to go. Who knows? Maybe they'll top out day 2 as well, Rob.
Oh, man, that would be absolutely outrageous. But a fitting story, honestly, to what has been their rise this campaign, we'll say, for all intents and purposes. They've really impressed us. They've consistently performed. That's the big one, is they continue to perform at the right side. Now, Genome, of course, we are going to go to a break. I believe this is your favorite piece of content that we've got coming up. Do you want to maybe give a little prelude and jump into it?
Look, I love getting a bit of deep dive, a bit of analysis in here. So we've been having a chat to the EMEF this week. And you know what? We've got an intro in the video, so why don't we just get into it and have a look at one of the compositions that you guys at home might be interested in learning a bit more about. Have you been wondering how to play the game's most popular composition to date? Here's a primer on how to get good. So in ALGS for the past couple of seasons, the most prevalent composition has been the Wraith, Gibraltar, and Bloodhound composition. Sometimes we've seen up to 75% of teams or more playing this in the lobby. It's just been everywhere. So I've got EMEF here with me today to try and tell us how this composition works. But first, why don't you tell us where did this composition first pop up?
Well, Bloodhound as a character wasn't really seen too much until quite late in the Autumn Circuit as a replacement for the Pathfinder in the Wraith Gibraltar Pathfinder composition. One team in particular in North America, Complexity, have been running Bloodhound for quite a while, managed to achieve a win in Summer Circuit OT3, which was even pre the Bloodhound buff that added the Beacon Scan ability. So as soon as the Beacon Scan was added, it seemed like a natural progression for the Wraith Gibraltar Pathfinder comp after recently losing Pathfinder to a low profile nerf would supplement that composition with a Bloodhound.
Yeah, I mean, look, the poor guy doesn't even really have a passive anymore, so it definitely made some sense to put the Bloodhound in there. Of course, Wraith and Gibraltar, they'd been mainstays for a little while, and the Bloodhound was really like the new kind of spice for this composition. So considering some of those have been around for a while, Bloodhound was a bit of a new addition. Why were all these legends picked together?
Well, the previous composition that was iterated on, as I mentioned, Wraith Gibraltar Pathfinder, was primarily used as an edge fighting composition, looking to get as many kills as possible. But also the ability to scan the beacon was very important for teams to have kind of a three-dimensional composition. It'd be able to play a rotation style because you keep the Wraith's portal ability as that kind of rotation character to move long distances, you and your entire team, as well as the Gibraltar bubble to kind of add a bit more length to that rotation completely safely. But Bloodhound's ability to start scanning really added a lot more fighting depth to the composition, and the ability to scan for your Wraith will typically be the mechanical carry of the team and look for some really important entry damage in a fight. That's really what makes the composition tick and allows it to be as flexible as it is.
As well as picking off those rats as well, right? I mean, it's so much harder to
Absolutely.
play as a solo player these days when you've got 15 bloodhounds in your lobby who are just scanning, every 6 seconds if they've got their ult up. It can be really tough. But when you put all of those characters together, how does this function as a team?
You have three characters really with quite simple utility. The Wraith will typically be your mechanical carry of the team, able to get out as much damage as possible safely. But the addition of Bloodhound able to scan teams before you take the fight just allows the Wraith's job to be so much easier. And the Gibraltar coming in usually is more of an anchor player coming in last with the bubble to kind of make the scrappy fight safer and clean up a lot easier with the gun shield. It just really brings the composition together with a nice flow for teams looking to fight on the edge of the map.
Right. So giving us a lot of different ways to play this composition, making it flexible, meaning, some of the best teams who've got the really good landing locations can use it for the fast rotates. But if you don't have that option, if you're a dome team and you have, a marathon to run every single game, you can play it too.
Absolutely. I would advise playing Wraith Gibraltar Bloodhound, most likely for any teams unfortunate enough to be landing dome.
It feels like there's the possibility that Season 9 could shake up the meta a little bit. So what composition could you see coming in and taking the spotlight away from Wraith Gibraltar Bloodhound?
Well, if you're asking about a composition that would dominate the usage statistics, I really don't know if there will be one comp in particular. We've seen so much variety in the scrims of every single region since Season 9. It really is the most balanced states Apex Legends has ever been in. Obviously, we would have to talk about Valk as a character to potentially replace Wraith for some compositions. I wouldn't personally agree with it due to her lack of escapability on a micro level, not being able to really play that entry fragger role quite as well as Wraith could previously. But we've also seen some people replace Bloodhound for Valkyrie as well, able to have in three really strong rotational characters.
So looking a little bit worse.
Right now, Pricey and Sharky try. Okay, Wolfpack.
For the end game, but you can see now on the screens, you can see now.
All right, we're into our final game of the weekend, not just the day. That's pretty crazy to say that we've already kind of flown through both play days here in the first weekend of the group stages. Group stages. I don't even know what was just said then. Let's have a look as we jump into the timeline. Of course, Thane coming out on top, but where's the bang? Where is that massive amount of teams? There you go, about the 21-minute mark. And there for a minute, 6 teams was what was remaining, and very quickly it crumbled away.
Yeah, it really feels like maybe that 17 to 18, that was kind of where we had the biggest loss of life in the server. I think I just saw a Revenant actually possibly get picked for one of the teams. So I think that was inside the ring. I don't believe they'd been playing that earlier in the day. So interesting to see some picks coming through. Might be a little different. pulling up into the final game of the day, Rob?
Well, talking about pulling up into the final game of the day, let's not do so at all. Let's just keep talking, Gino. I was about to dive in, but
we're just looking so cute. You know,
you know what?
like...
You can have a look at my doggo. He's a gorgeous boy. I just realized he jumped in. He came in when I wasn't looking. When I went out to when I went in to fill my drink bottle up, he jumped up on the couch and it was too late. So we have you can pat the doggo. Oh, nice pat. Well, let's get into the game. Let's stop patting dogs and talking about dogs and get into it because we are underway for our final match of the day, Gino.
Alrighty. Game 6, the last one. I mean, obviously, we're not crowning a winner or anything today. No. We will be able to... Actually, no, to be fair, we will be able to see at the end of today who is the one team confirmed to get through as the leader of Group C. No, we won't, because there's more teams that Group C have to play. I'm making this all Sunday. Up on the fly.
Baited me. You baited me so hard, Gino. I believed you as well. That's all right. Well, we can dive into it all now because, like you said, this will be the 2 days that Group C have played, with today and tomorrow, and they will not play until next Sunday, where they are going to verse each group only twice. So there's not many games left for them. Looking at the Athanes and those kind of rosters, but definitely Rise, they could really just skyrocket. Put themselves on their own podium if they're able to take this matchup.
Absolutely, Rise. It's pretty much their lobby and their group to win at the moment. They've just had a stunning performance over the last 2 days that has showed a lot of growth as a team, and frankly, it's just been an excellent way to showcase the amount of skill that is currently residing in Taiwan, which just seems to be phenomenally high.
Yep.
Ultimate accelerant here.
Certainly has been, and really has been a talking point. How many of the matches now have we seen that the Taiwanese team have really been able to slap around? It's just ridiculous. They are definitely heads and shoulders. Oh, yeah, go for it.
And they might be looking to slap some more because we've got K7 Esports on the move. It's a very southern, interesting ring at the moment, and actually they might just be looking to grab a spot. Usually teams around Dome, launch site, they like to go early and try and find their way into some early fights because the POIs are so far apart that it allows them to fight without too much worry about a third party. But K7 moving there into launch site. That said, Invade tired of how many times BIOS Esports have made them have to learn some new rotations because it's so hard changing from Fragment East to Fragment West. They just decided to eliminate them early. Fair enough too.
Yeah, they've done a little bit of damage. They've currently taken down a fair chunk of armor on that Gibraltar, and they may well just continue to push on the back of this. They've got no room to move. Now, this is a very dangerous fight for Invade to be taking early on. You're not really 100% sure what BIOS is holding. You just know that you want to take it. You want to try to flush them out. And as they just get a little bit closer, it looks like Kimberly up on top with the Valk is just trying to hold them at bay. Now, they do have the Bloodhound on BIOS, so they will be able to scan them out for those cheeky little wall hacks,
Yeah, they've sort of cornered them here. Gopgap, Saijin, and Lala Bang have spread out to try and get BIOS somewhere. But BIOS, they're having none of it, and they're actually repositioning as we speak with the Skyward Dive. Now, moving back down to the team we were talking about much earlier, we've got K7 here right at the bottom of launch site. And as you can see, partially in that mini-map, we've got a circle that's very southern for once, and there's an even bigger look at it, ladies and gents. So it's actually going to be all the way down the bottom there. It's you don't see these ones too often, where I'm actually genuinely not that sure where this one's going to finish up. Might have to wait one or two more circles to make a prediction on that. It could be somewhere to the right of launch site potentially, or even in it'd have to be a hard pull, but Dome is still in a little bit.
I love the way you think it's hard to predict. I am god tier at this. Sorting Factory is where it's ending. 100%.
Okay,
confirmed.
thank you.
Yep, that's okay.
Thank you for Thank you for just laying your knowledge on us, Rob. I love it when you do that.
Look, to be honest, it's just next level, you know? Some people have a 4-head, I have a 7-head. That's how big my brain is. At the moment, Evolution 1 is not really in a favorable fight with K7 down at the very southern side of the map, okay? We just need that in mind, but they are actually starting to find a little bit more damage. Look at we'll look at Straw, then Chock trying to rotate out, and they may just be able to do so.
Yep, makes absolute sense there. They were in a rough spot. They didn't have really anywhere to go, but you can see how many different teams are just hoping that they're going to be the ones to get the finishing shot on of Straw, Van, Chock. They do just barely make it inside the building. Just having a look through some other teams here. We've got Tom Young Kung. Now they are sitting at the top of Sorting Factory in the... it's kind of like the refinery building in Sorting Factory. And just to their west is actually Wolfpack Arctic. And they're outside, you know, that the green circle we saw, the cheating survey beacon we saw, but they are inside the current ring. So they've got some time to work out if they want to deal with, let's say, direwolves who are below them at tree. They've also spotted out inside the ring who, yes, they did in fact pick that Revenant on Zabby and are sitting to the south of Sorting Factory.
So just, you know, recapping the fight we were talking about a little bit earlier, it was unfortunately K7 that have been taken out with Evolution 1. From what I can see, it was Wolfpack Shadow who were able to at least find 1 or 2 of those kills. It looks like they wiped one of the squads, regardless of who it was. Evolution 1 and K7 both no longer in this final lobby of the day. Apart from that, everyone will start to bunker down. The pokes will start to come in. And I think once more, until we really force into that next circle, that green circle we were talking about, you know, the recon, I don't really think we're going to be too stressed for opening engagements on the southern side of the map, but the northern side may be a completely different thing altogether here, Gino.
Yeah, it could be. Perry Hellion, yeah, not in the best spot up here as the ring closes. They're looking across at, say, Invade, in Fragment East, or even further across at Rise, who are all just pulling into the circle as well. There's actually 5 teams up here trying to make their way in. Reject is one of the ones burning some meds. Perry Hellion are actually trying to pull up behind them. You will see them soon as they move through Ghost Town. And it could be that they fall upon them in just a matter of seconds. And then Bearclaw Gaming, they're inside the circle. They're not wasting any meds, and they could be the real benefactors. Let's see if Perry Hellion actually want to push the issue here. They've definitely spotted them. You can see some of the pings coming out. They know that they're there.
Reject look like they have been able to rotate just outside and into Geyser, so we're looking a little bit fresher at the moment. Down on the southwestern side of the map, however, is where we're going to be focusing our attention, because it is Direwolves on hot pursuit of a Thame. Now, this is well and truly out of the zone, well, the next zone, we should say. They've still got 2 minutes to try and force this fight, but it just feels like Direwolves are forever trying to chase butterflies, Genome. It feels like they are to no avail finding the kill points or placement points that are needed.
They've really struggled today, haven't they? It's just been defeat after defeat for them, and they really need to make something happen here if they want to put themselves within striking distance of making it into the money. You got to remember, they're guaranteed at least $1,000 each, I think it is, USD, something like that, if they even make it into that final day on June 5th. But there's a bit of a road ahead of them before that happens. You'll have to... We're doing our best, guys. Unfortunately, a pack of killer bees has taken out one of our observers. And we've just got the one here, so if we miss some fights, we are terribly apologetic. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually the client bullying him. I think it was the acne.
Jeez.
That he brought up.
Oops. You ain't slowing down, are you?
I don't know which observer's out, to be honest. So, like, you know, you can't blame me for going hard on that.
There we go. We figured it out. Or Roots. Roots has been left behind in map number 6 here, and that's okay. But we will be helping. We'll be helping the other observer from Zen out. We'll be calling for him as well, so he can continue to stay forward of the fights that are taking place here. But it'll be relaxed.
Yeah, look, Tom Young Kung here once again on that, the top level of Lava City. They don't know, actually, that the ring is moving pretty much where I said, actually, like pretty much just to the right of launch site. So, like, it'll go, it'll be somewhere in that sort of area between dome and launch site. And once again, we'll have some lava just to spice things up. And talking about spicing things up here in the refinery building, that's Wolfpack, Arctic. And they're after Straw Van Chalk. Buzz the Great is not having such a great time.
No, not having fun whatsoever. I mean, the issue right now is there's a couple of fights taking place. This one being, more forefront. Down the very bottom side of the map, we've got Direwolves being pursued by Wolfpack Shadow, and they're actually quite hungry for this kill. This is all the way down in the launch site. I don't know whether Direwolves are really going to get away from this one with room to move, because they've already got 2 players down. It's just Watsy left. So, Holtzy, sorry. We're not having the greatest time for Direwolves that are only on 16 points in the last 6 matches.
Yeah, Waltzy, unfortunately, not doing quite as well as someone like the Tsurusama, who, as we saw, was just bunkered up in one of the buildings where his gas is useful. There's Waltzy. He's got gold armor and not much else beside that. NLN having a look towards his direction, but I don't think he is visible from where they are. That's it. Who's that? Oh, Roddy Saimai. About to pull up on him with the Skyward Dive, actually. One of them goes down to Wolfpack Shadow, who are now portaling in on the location. Waltzy's just made his way onto some stairs elsewhere. He's like, I don't want any of this business. You guys can sort it out between yourselves. It's not my fight to fight.
Well, this is funny because Easy Flash had no cares whatsoever, has completely sent it into that fight, did not give them any time to reset and prepare themselves for an engagement. And just like that, Roddy, Saimai have been taken out of the count. And really, Wolfpack Shadow are absolutely dominating the server right now. 8 kills to their name. That's 3 squads that were actually 4 squads that pretty much wiped off the face of the earth. The big thing right now, Direwolf, Watsy, has gotten away from that one.
Oh, I think he's been spotted.
Oh no.
Has he? Someone has pinged him. I don't know who it is. There we go. The bullets start firing through. Maybe it was NLN. Maybe it was Wolfpack Shadow. Either way, they know he's there, and they know he's trying to rat. Yeah, okay. It was Silver Sky, the 30-30 repeater. That guy does put out some damage when he's got the old Winchester happening.
Hey, now, just very quickly, Invade have just rotated with Valkyrie into launch site on top of Wolfpack Shadow. So NLN as well, they're coming across. I mean, it looks like they're just going to pick up the loot from what was left between the Direwolves and Roddy fight. But certainly, launch site has been very volatile in this matchup in particular.
Wolfpack Arctic picking up some spoils here. Yeah, as you said, looks like Invade are trying to make something happen down there towards the bottom of the map. Now we're on Wolfpack Shadow, the victim of Invade's aggression, their incursion into the launch site, and Invade are going to end up being successful in that. Now as the ring closes in, there's 2 teams up at the north that, might have to be worrying about each other, and they're 2 pretty powerhouse teams. We've got Rise Empire Taiwan, and we've got Wolfpack Arctic.
This is not the greatest fight I've ever seen. It's a 3v3v3. In fact, Tom Young Kung have just been able to wipe out 2 players from Sweet Assist, and just like you said, Wolfpack Arctic are now coming in from behind as Tom Young Kung, they continue to push the fight onto the last Sweet assist player, but they've walked directly into the path of Wolfpack Arctic. However, they've slowed back down, and the fight has fizzled out for now. But Tom Young Kung, no matter which way they rotate out of here, they're going to have to take a straight-up gunfight.
Well, the day isn't over, Rob, but the teams are kind of playing like it is. You know, usually at the 6th game, that's time to just send it all, because if you don't get the points then, you won't get them anywhere. Now, that's not how this group stage works, but that said, you know, we're in round 4 and we've got the 9 squads left, and it seems like these teams have almost just had, some of them have had enough today, and they're just going to go send it no matter what happens. Wolfpack Arctic here are in a fight with Tom Young Kung. Once again, another duo of powerhouse teams trying to settle their differences, but they think a little bit better of it. And Wolfpack Arctic pull out. I actually see Rise over in the distance, who are getting nailed by a charge rifle from somewhere. Kentwing almost went down. As you can see there, he was on pretty much 1 HP, did manage to get the bat off. And they've just found a small corner where they can hide in for the moment. Should they decide to go up that zipline, they will be flying into the waiting arms of a Thame.
Rise looking to try and take that fight onto Jack Cute, who has the height advantage, and they're going to try to just sneak away in time, but they run right into Tom Young Kung. And now the question is, what damage can they get done? None at all. See you later. That's Rise being taken out of the 6th and final match. And with K7 gone as well, I can't wait to see who really ends up on top of Group C. And the rotates are going to need to come in now, because that southwest zone will be one of the final circles left in this storyline anyway.
And we can see that the fully loaded Sentinel there for Natsurasama getting put to good use. He was using that Deadeye tempo to just push those bullets out at a rapid pace of knots, and it nets him some, I think it was at least 1 kill there onto Rise that perhaps Tom Young Kung would have preferred was in their pockets. And now as they push up, they're going to find the duo of Evolution and Xenomorph underneath them. Not sure if they quite spotted them out. They are running around, so they must be able to hear them, and the drone comes out from Awato to try and confirm some of that knowledge.
Again, this is where the drone plays dividends. This is where the crypto can be absolutely massive, giving you intel on players underneath you to play off, first and foremost, and that EMP can really do a fair bit of damage. Look at this from Arctic right now. Oh, how's the rotate not good enough? In fact, it nets them a bit of a cheeky death, not one that they'll be too happy with, trying to sit behind the knockdown shield. And maybe Twizzy can't hold on here. My goodness, is that Tom Young Kung again on a third-party fight?
I mean, Wolfpack, it looks like they completely caught that team by surprise. For some reason, I've already forgotten who it was that went down, but yeah, really caught with their pants down there, but luckily were able to turn it around. I think with a bit of help, some covering fire from across the ditch from perhaps Evo or a Thame. Now, as the ring pulls further and further into launch site now, we're favoring teams like Inside the Ring, a duo without their Octane. An interesting combo, actually. They've got Revenant, Octane, and Valkyrie. And then, of course, we've got Invade sitting. They are loving life right now. They don't need the Wraith to reposition, luckily, because they don't have it on their team. It's Wallabank, Sajin, and Gopgaps in a great position here. So 6 squads left to go in our final game of the day, Rob.
Tom Young Kung, Evolution, Xenomorph, and a Thame are all on top of each other right now. The northern side of the launch site, they need to be careful as they start to progress a little bit closer in. Inside the ring, completely on the other side with Invade above them. That's what you need to remember. The rotates have come in quite nicely from a Thame, so it's allowed them time to reset. As Invade, they really have the high ground here. They have so much to work with, so much to use. NLN is still alive, by the way. I totally had missed that. They'd been sitting down in the dome for such a long time. And Tom Young Kung now have to fight their way into the zone. But some nutty shooting will give them their path that they so deserve.
Well, the Kraber certainly has the caliber to punch a big hole as you're trying to make an entry. And unfortunately, The sniper challenge does not go the way of Mitsuru Sama, going up against the big red gun, and Wado will follow him shortly after that. So Athame now in all sorts of trouble. Invade, as we said, absolutely in the best position. They've got high ground, they've got triple red armors, and a team like Tom Young Kung honestly has a fair bit of work to do. They want to take that position away from them. That said, it is sort of towards the edge of the circle, so they will have to slowly work their way in. They've got so many death boxes behind them, though, that it's actually pretty easy for them to resupply, and they can really just throw out as much ammo as they want. Here we're getting some vision of them. You see that high ground that they dominate. Tom Young Kung actually pushing them, trying to come around the side.
Gotta be careful there. Up gap. The grenades to boot. And will ensure that that high ground is pretty much dismissed straight away. Tom Young Kung completely retreat back off of it. I think Athame have just gone down. Jack Cute was the last player remaining, trying to rat it out, trying to get some of those placement points. Can't do so. And now Invade, it really is just free pickings at the moment. This is devastating for any other team right now. Invade are the only team with more than 2 players remaining. They've got all 3 up, in fact. Whereas I think it's, only 2 players on NLN. 1 player that's sitting in and amongst the midst is from Evolution Xenomorph. So they could still hold on here.
Yeah, they've got a nice right spot. They've held it out for as long as they can. It's managed to get them a top 3 finish here in this final game as Invade really look to push their dominance. 3 teams left. Invade still fully stocked up and aware. I'm just trying to get a look at the Tom Young Kung players. They're all actually alive as well. So it's 3v3v1 here. He's finally been scanned, so they know that I Kill Only Noob from Evolution Xenomorph is around. He will go down, and now we've got a fun, straight-up 3v3. Who's the better team, Rob?
Arena style. Hey, let's get into it. Let's see how this one unfolds. What kind of damage can come from Tom Young Kung on the bottom side underneath the all-elusive Invade roster? What can they get?
Well, Dexter is currently putting down his portal, just trying to make sure they've got one to move around with, but they need it. Here we go. They're moving down to try and make this, force this fight, and Invade have done it very well. They had the high ground. They got to choose when to engage, and that means that they walk away. That's High Team this time with the victory.
Big victory as well for Invade. One that will be very much needed. They have been, in all honesty, a little bit quiet, a little more quiet than what we may have expected them coming into this, but now they turn the tides and they completely annihilate the lobby in map 6. So they've really put themselves in a good little position because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they are Group C, so they don't play until next Sunday, where they only have 4 more games to collect those much needed points to find themselves in the playoffs on the 5th of June.
Yeah, totally correct, Rob. They had 1 game today where they picked up 12 kills, so that in conjunction with that first place finish we just saw is probably going to put Invade at least through to the final rounds. You would think at this point. Before this game, I think they had roughly about 50 points up in total, all up in total. And yeah, now they're going to chuck at another 20 or so on top of that. You'd say they're looking pretty good. Here's that come from behind. You know, usually you say come from behind victory. This was a bit of a come from behind loss, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was a really odd engagement. I think, like you were saying, there were a couple of teams that were sitting up on the northern side of the zone, just taking pot shots at them that really did not help their case whatsoever. Losing the Wraith early on really as well. The 2v2 not favorable, but right toward the end, again, just so much chaos in such short amount of time. Invade had held that high ground for longer than I care to imagine. I believe that once they'd really been able to take down Direwolves, they had just completely held true onto this. Look at this, just cheeky bingo, bango, bongo. So much damage done with the Kraber there.
Yeah, that's the fireworks at the end of the game as the Arc Stars and the defensive bombardment rain down. And then you see them just push it at the end at just the right time. Wow, even with Saiyajin got partially incapacitated there by one of the Arc Stars, they recognize that it's time to make those Evas work. It seems to be the shotgun of choice these days. But you know what? Have you thought about learning another language lately, Rob?
Honestly, yes, I have.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Okay, me too, man. I was, is there a particular one that you thought about by any chance?
Yeah, actually, French. Why not?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm just
Wow,
going to
man,
completely sidetrack what you were trying to do.
They should get you on the EU broadcast, then, I guess.
What is it that you're eating there, Genome? I'm quite interested.
Oh, it's a Mandarin. It's a Mandarin. And you know what? Taiwan #1. Because the Mandarin speaking lads over there have just had such a killer day that I thought I should give them another shout out. Because goddamn, K7 and Rise Empire Taiwan are just killing it. Also, I'm a little bit hungry, and I'm just gonna go for it. Yeah,
go for it. We'll go in and dive into what is the leaderboard of the Playday 2. Now, remember, this is not taking into consideration Playday 1. This is just from today's matches. K7 have well and truly come out on top. Rise with a bit of a lackluster finish to the day, in all honesty. They had such a strong performance yesterday. Leading into today, we thought they were going to do the same, but the last two matches have really kind of fallen short for them, which is completely fine. It's actually a lot closer than what it was last time, Genome. The top 10 all within nearly 20 points of each other.
Yeah, a bit more of an even spread this time. Hey, looking at that sort of 40 to 50 range, you see that all the way down from 4 to 10. And I think importantly, a couple of the teams who didn't have good days yesterday have stepped up.
Yep.
Grape, only 19 points yesterday. Today, they take away 48. Invade, only 26 points yesterday. Today, they take away 46.
Yeah.
Some other teams have really cemented their advantages and made their, put their case forward for earning some of those seeding points going into the match point day. So Wolfpack Shadow, who finished with 52 yesterday, also picking up 45 today. And looking around inside the ring, they did okay. Actually, 43 points on both days. How consistent of them?
We'll wait to see on Sunday to see how truly consistent they have been, because they were always a team that just consistently got in that top 10, consistently performed well. I mean, wouldn't say well, but just did their job. One team that has really kind of left a sour taste is, unfortunately, I don't want to say this, but Direwolves, 17 points from today's 6 matches. We just expected to see a little bit more from them, let's be honest.
Absolutely. We were excited by this roster. The introduction of Belkun seemed like it could be something that could help them out. Bullet, we've seen international results from this guy before. One of the first online tournaments, I think maybe he took that out, or no, actually I think it was like a top 3 placing or something like that for him there. So, but you know what? The game's moved on, Rob.
Yeah.
He's tried some other things out, and unfortunately, look, I've still got high hopes. I think he's a quick learner and he can get back into it. But thus far, it's the Mandarin speakers that are really doing it for me today, Rob.
You are just going all in on that, aren't you? If this was poker, you would have all your chips in front of you and you'd be just Taiwan #1. But honestly, I do think that when we were looking at it with Direwolves, there were just a couple of fights where I said it before, it looked like they were trying to catch butterflies. They were just chasing to the world's edge, if you will, and never really being given their due reward for doing so either. And more often than not, it lent them into a third party, a fourth party, and they were just consistently getting pinched, finding themselves in awkward positions. So, look, there's no telling what Direwolves will come back and bounce back with next Saturday, but they have a week that they're going to need to regroup and recoup.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're just getting some of those final stats and that kind of stuff together for you guys, I just want to say thank you guys all for showing up. It's been wonderful to be able to bring these these broadcasts to you at Longshot. Please give the the socials a follow. Hit up Manic, hit up Genome there on Twitter, and please as well for all the updates, hit up GG Longshot on Twitter. We will of course be back next Saturday and next Sunday. We'll have Elfish Guy back alongside me then. Sorry, you know him as Cool Glasses Man. Yeah, might have been the disconnect there. But then, look, Rob's going to be coming back, and hopefully it'll be a really exciting day on that June 5th, and calling all the big action. I'm not going to say it's up to you, Rob, but you will be playing a part in deciding who gets that $500,000, how that's distributed among the best players in our region.
That blows my mind. That blows my mind, the fact that we're a part of a $500,000 USD tournament. Like, I mean, it's going to get there. The crowdfunding is going to get there because it's already
it seems like
half of the way there. Like, that's insane, Genome. Oh, hello, Doggo. He came out of nowhere. Let's have a look at the placement timeline.
That was nice of the Doggo to bring the placement timeline with him there, or her actually. What's the Doggo's name? Just for everyone, I'm sure.
Kylo Ren. He's a gorgeous. Of course. Yeah, of course. He's gorgeous, aren't you, buddy? Yeah. Sorry, you go. Take this away, Genome.
No one cares about the placement timeline. We're all thinking about the dog. Don't worry. But look, if we do feel like having a look at the placement timeline for some reason, you can see. It was that final fight there between Tom Young Kung and Invade. Nice to see those clean 3v3s at the end. That's always a little bit fun to get that the taste of arena action. But it was much earlier on. As we said, match 6 often a bit of a weird one. Seeing a lot of those 12 and 13, 14 minute kind of eliminations that you don't see so much, especially when you think back to times when it was Direwolves going out at number 20 at 10 minutes, for instance.
Yeah, and, like talking about Tom Young Kung, I know you just mentioned them 2 seconds ago, but the bulk of their points have come on the back end of today. The last 2 games have really given them a bit of a boost and kind of skyrocketed them up the ladder. And I think that game there, that placement is indicative of doing so, being able to get in the best place possible for them to kind of come into next week being prepared for it. So, Genome, I'll let you have the floor here. Any final words or final thoughts before we close out?
Oh, look, I think we said most of it before as we were just waiting for that last graphic to get prepped. But, thank you guys for coming. Cheers to EA and everyone for making this tournament possible and just making it such a wonderful spectacle. I'll give a big shout out to, the guys behind the scenes. Swifty, he's been a little bit sick this weekend, and he showed up both days to put on an incredible show for you guys, as well as Zen, who, threw off any illusion that, it was Roots really doing the observer work behind the scenes, and just carried it fully by himself there for that last round. I'm just kidding. Roots does so much stuff behind the scenes. You guys have no idea. So, big thanks to everyone there. Thank you so much to Rob for joining us, because it's been a hell of a weekend. You did an incredible job on your first time here on Apex Legends. So thank you so much. And you know what? That's probably it from us here at Longshot, guys. We will see you at the same time next Saturday and next Sunday, when we are going to decide which 10 teams go home and which 20 teams get to play it out for the $500,000 US. See you next time.
Oh god, this is about to be an absolute massacre. Rejected caught between 2 teams on either side of them. The bubble will give them a short breath.
Look at that kill feed light up, Rob. I mean, as we had all of those teams fighting at the top there was a similar scuffle happening at the south of the ring. 2 inside the ring only, with Zabby the Rat, as you said, in a very good position. So, gotta love that. And just a prowler to his name. Who needs
2 great Evolution, Xenomorph, and of course inside, never mind, outside the ring, because they're done. They're outside of the game, outside of the lobby, and it's only Evolution, Xenomorph, and Great left. The bubble may give them room. That is incredibly played from Biggsy. Can he get any more damage done inside of the bubble? Can the team support? You bet your bottom dollar. Grape after it, a bit more aggressive and take these engagements. Now, in that northern village, it could be very dangerous against the team known as Tom Young Kung. We have it across to the team of Tom Young Kung, so they will be absolutely cheering at that point. And speaking of Tom Young Kung, portal jump directly on top of them from the Wraith of Perillion that is just across the valley at the moment. You can see the fight's taken out, trying to keep them there for as long as they can inside of the zone. Sharky a little bit too far forward, has been taken down. Rise, they now have the way into the...
4 squads are left, Rob. K7 have been in the middle of this quite some time. Rise trying to add another big scalp to their name, and Pricey goes down. Sharky is removed. The MT trying to make them pay for something at least, but he can't seem to do it. They've still got 3 members alive. How do you even kill these guys? Finally, one of them goes down, and K7, that's it. They get the knock, and they are going to jump head straight into their death from above, and K7 Esports are going to be your second aim. Now up to Waltzy. He's actually outside, and I don't think he's been scanned. Okay, they know where he is. I thought maybe he'd just try and get out of this. He's going to use the knockdown shield to try and make this work from him. But honestly, Tom Young Kung need to be a little bit worried themselves because Killerpos has gone down, and we've got other teams trying to pick up those last couple.
And it just determines how much damage can that Kraber do. Unfortunately not going to be hitting the mark just yet, but Mines in the ring and safe as well. They're currently taking shots at Roddy, and this is really unfortunate because that may well be Roddy falling out completely.
BJ looking for some grenades here. They want to be able to cut off routes of entry and exit for Rise as they push into this final 3v3 fight. The red armors on the side of Reject will give them a little bit of an advantage, and it's not enough to stop.
Now, in the meantime, the final team you were talking about previously in that engagement. Oh, hang on, hold the phone for a second, because Arctic are on their last billion, and it just determines how much damage can that Kraber do. Unfortunately not going to be hitting the mark just yet, but Mines is out the ring and safe as well. They're currently taking shots at Roddy, and this is really unfortunate because that may well be Roddy falling out completely inside. They're looking to put the pressure onto inside the ring, just like you said, and before we can even call it, it's done and dusted. Reject, Rise Empire. Surely Rise Empire can't do this again. They are consistently in that top Hawkins in the top 5, and they've found themselves up against one of the best.
BJ looking for some grenades here. They want to be able to cut off routes of entry and exit for Rise as they push into this final 3v3 fight. Red armors on the side of Reject will give them a little bit of an advantage, and it's not enough to stop.
They're having a little bit of luck actually getting into the building, but I don't know how much damage they're being able to inflict. In fact, it's little to none. They've got to play it down right now. Rise are holding quite firmly.
Just as the round closes, and teams like Reject, Wolfpack invade inside the ring, and even Tom Young Kung, who again have been a little bit quiet tonight as the ring pulls in.
Gino, the worst part about this, for the fight that is taking part where K7 and Direwolves are, Perry Hallion will be joining the fight as well soon, but Direwolves may not look to get that one out. The Bloodhound was able to spot him out nice and early, and now the issue is going to be, it's also Wolfpack that has spotted him out. So Wolfpack Arctic, K7, and what will be the last member on Wolfpack Shadow still alive, just outside of the ring, but in the meantime, Arctic, they're taking a fair bit of damage. The fight's now starting to be forced by K7. That's allowed Wolfpack Shadow the time to breathe, but it doesn't matter because the damage being done by K7 is enough to secure the dub. And just like that, much needed.
They're taking a little bit too much poke from both the teams that they were seeing move their way in. And as a result, they don't actually grab any kills. They just move back further.
Whether he's going to be able to hold on for long enough. Both his teammates fall down, but he does get away just... I don't know whether it's going to be enough because it looks like they're 30 before we see everyone forced into it. A nice timing on the dome. Just gets him into position. Jumps on the other side. Can he find the kill?
Oh!
That is...
The Peacekeeper, but Fame, they're the ones who have managed to just slowly walk their way in while all the other teams are too busy dealing with each other.
They're given a little bit of information across, but Evolution Xenomorph look like they're in a prime position to be able to fight this out, take the engagements and win. Close quarters, no. Oh, it's only one player left.
It's
But Jack Dude should be able to absolutely miss them. And that will give a team a much-needed victory here at the ALGS Champs.
So just to put that into perspective,
Fizzled out for now, but Tom Young Kung, no matter which way they rotate out of here, they're going to have to take a straight-up gunfight.
well, the day isn't over, Rob, but the teams are kind of playing like it is. Usually the sixth game, it's that time to just send it all because if you don't get the points then you won't get them anywhere. Now, that's not our life site now. We're favoring teams like Inside the Ring, a duo without their Octane. An interesting combo, actually. They've got Revenant, Octane, and Valkyrie. And then, of course, we've got Invade sitting. They are loving life right now. They don't need the Wraith to reposition, luckily, because they don't have it on their team.
They have so much to work and so much to use. NLN is still alive, by the way. I totally had missed that. They'd been sitting down in the dome for such a long time, and Tom Young Kung now have to fight their way into the zone with some nutty shooting. Will give them their path that they so deserve. How this one unfolds. What kind of damage can come from Tom Young Kung on the bottom side underneath the all-elusive Invade roster? What can they
Well,
get?
Dexter is currently putting down his portal, just trying to make sure they've got one to move around with, but they need it. Here we go. They're moving down to try and make this force this fight, and Invade have done it very well. They had the high ground. They got to choose when to win.